School was over. I headed home with one goal in mind: to study. Tomorrow was the start of the 3 grade exams, which meant I didn't have to go to Tianqing High School. I wouldn't be going back for the next few days either. I planned to stay home, bury my head in my books, and prepare for the academic portion that followed the big trials. The 3 grade exams were the real deal: the 5 trials, the Soul Trial, and the Jade Beast Trial. The 5 trials measured your blood vitality. The Soul Trial tested your mental strength. The Jade Beast Trial was the big one. It determined if you could awaken a Jade Beast mark. Every single one was brutal. Even the 5 trials, which people called the commoner's path to success, required a blood vitality of 0.5 horsepower. To get there, you needed expensive beast blood or spirit stones to toughen your body. The Soul Trial was even worse. You needed 0.5 horsepower of mental strength. Treasures that boosted your mind were incredibly rare. Only the rich could afford that path. But everyone's eyes were on the Jade Beast Trial. If you passed and awakened a mark, you became a Jade Beast Master. They were 1 in 10,000. Their status sat far above warriors or soul masters. They were the elite. The odds were pathetic, though. Only 1 student in 10,000 usually had the talent. In a place like Tianqing Town, Jade Beast Masters were legendary. This year, people hoped for 5 survivors. If 5 passed, it would break last year's record. I had already given up on the 3 grade exams. I was a lost cause. My physique and mental strength were strictly average. As for Jade Beast talent, forget it. Besides, the exam fee was 10,000 yuan. That was a fortune. I didn't want to waste it. My plan was simple: wait for the academic exams, work hard, and try to get into a decent university. It was a path born of necessity, not choice. When I got home, my parents had a table full of good food waiting. They were beaming at me. Before I could say a word, my dad, a seasoned warrior, laughed in his gruff voice. "Xiaofan, don't feel any pressure tomorrow. No matter the result, just consider it a learning experience." "I'm not taking the exam tomorrow," I said, confused. "Why not?" "We already paid the fee," Dad said, his smile fading. "If you don't go, that money is gone." I was stunned. "You paid? But I told you I wasn't going." "Dad, I don't have a chance. We aren't rich. That 10,000 yuan could feed us for a year. I'll need that money for university tuition." Dad waved me off. "Xiaofan, things are tight, but we aren't so poor that we can't afford this. Even old Zhang's kid is participating. Old Zhang keeps bragging his kid will pass the 5 trials, but I don't believe a word of it. Don't worry about the money. Just go and try. What kind of kid skips the 3 grade exams and goes straight to academics?" "But enough," Mom interrupted, ushering us to the table. "Stop arguing and wash your hands. Eat." She gave me a look of encouragement. She told me Dad had received a bonus and we had enough to get by. I sighed. I knew where that bonus came from. Dad put his life on the line every time there was a beast outbreak near town. But the decision was made. I had to go. To be honest, a part of me really wanted to. Every high schooler dreamed of this day. The next morning, I arrived at school early, but the place was already packed. The classroom was buzzing. Fatchen saw me and waved. "I thought you weren't coming. What happened?" "My dad signed me up," I said with a shrug. "Might as well try. You never know." Fatchen and I had been friends since primary school. He was a solid guy. His family was well off, and his dad had bought him enough beast blood and spirit stones to push his blood vitality to 0.5 horsepower. He actually had a shot. The teacher walked in, gave us a quick briefing, and handed out our exam numbers. Then, we were led to the field. The entire school was divided into sections. The process moved fast. You did the blood test, the mental test, and the awakening test one after another. As the morning went on, about 20 students passed the Soul Trial. The school leaders looked pleased. Over half had passed the 5 trials. A few even hit 1 horsepower in vitality. Zhang Hua from the next class was acting like a king. His vitality was 1.5 horsepower, the highest in the school. He was guaranteed a spot in a top-tier martial arts academy. People were flocking to congratulate him. Zhang Hua soaked in the attention, then turned his eyes toward the most beautiful girl in school, Su Qingqian. She stood there in simple clothes, her face perfect, looking like a goddess among mortals. Zhang Hua walked over, flashing a confident smile. Ching-chun, will you be my girlfriend? The crowd gasped. It was the perfect moment, the top athlete asking out the school beauty. Everyone expected her to say yes. Who would reject a talent like Zhang Hua? Su Ching-chun didn't even blink. She didn't say a word. It was her turn to test. She walked right past the Vitality and Soul stations and headed straight for the Jade Beast platform. She placed her slender hand on the awakening stone and closed her eyes. I watched her, feeling a bit dazed. Nobody really knew, but Su Ching-chun and I were neighbors. She had moved in across from me 2 years ago and joined my class the next day. We saw each other almost every day on the way to school, but we never spoke. Not a single word. I didn't have the guts to talk to her, and she probably thought I wasn't worth her time. Living next to each other was just a coincidence. Suddenly, the awakening stone erupted in light. The crowd went silent. A hit. Beams of light shot out, one after another. Each beam represented a beast mark. The more beams, the higher the talent. 1, 2, 10, 13. 13 beams of light. 13 marks. The silence was deafening. The record for Tianqing Town was 7. Su Ching-chun hadn't just broken the record, she had obliterated it. She could potentially control 13 spirit beasts. Her talent was god tier. Then, the examiner called my name. I walked up to the platform, passing Su Ching-chun as she stepped down. As we brushed past each other, she shot me a cold, mocking look. I was baffled. What had I ever done to her? Go for it, Xiao Fan. Fat Chen yelled from the sidelines. I gave him a quick thumbs up, trying to shake off the nerves. I stepped up and took the tests. Blood vitality, less than 0.1. Mental strength, less than 0.1. 2 failures, back to back. I expected it, but it still stung. I stood there for a moment, letting out a bitter, self-deprecating laugh. I really was just an average guy. I guess my dad's money really was wasted. I was a talentless loser. I stood there, dazed, staring at the results. What are you staring at? Results like this are perfectly normal for someone like you, Zhang Hua sneered. We didn't have any history, but he was clearly irritated. He had noticed Su Ching-chun, the girl who ignored everyone, actually staying behind to watch my test. He couldn't stand it. Why me? I ignored his provocation and walked toward the final station, the Spirit Awakening Stone. I didn't expect much. I was just going through the motions to finish the 3 exams. I placed my hand on the stone. It stayed silent. The crowd expected as much. Zhang Hua crossed his arms, a cold smirk plastered on his face. Trash, he muttered. Even Su Ching-chun's face showed a fleeting flash of disappointment. She turned to leave. Then, the stone began to vibrate. The sound was deafening. Su Ching-chun spun around, her eyes wide with shock. The entire crowd froze. A pillar of black light shot toward the sky. It was massive. Even though it was only 1 beam, it was thicker and more powerful than all 13 of Su Ching-chun's beams combined. What is that black light? Su Ching-chun whispered, her face pale. Fat Chen's jaw hit the floor. Wait, does this mean he passed? The school leaders were stunned. The whole school was silent. Jiang Fan, the nobody, had just become the second person to pass the Beast Tamer exam. The teachers were suddenly ecstatic. 2 tamers in 1 year. A single beam meant I had 1 beast mark, the lowest tier of talent, but a tamer was still a tamer. Xiao Fan, you did it. Fat Chen rushed up and nearly tackled me with a hug. I was more shocked than anyone, but not because of the light. A glowing interface had appeared in front of my eyes. Name, Jiang Fan. Age, 15. Occupation, none. Beast marks, infinite. Note, no limit on the number of spirit beasts. 100% control over all beasts. Spirit beasts, none. Blood vitality, 0.1. Mental strength, 0.1. Wealth, 0.5. Infinite marks? Total control? I looked at the black pillar of light again. It wasn't actually black. It was every color in the world fused together so densely that it appeared dark. Su Ching-chun broke records with 13 marks, and I had infinite. My skin crawled with excitement. My luck had finally changed. As I walked down with Fat Chun, I crossed paths with Su Ching-chun again. She gave a faint, cold smile. Pretty lucky. I didn't say anything. I didn't even know what her problem was. Fat Chun, however, was dying of envy. Xiao Fan, you're acting so cool now. The school goddess talks to you, and you don't even blink. We passed Zhonghua, who was still standing there like a statue. This is impossible, he stammered. I looked at him and smirked. You said I was trash. What was that other thing you said? That I'd never make it. Zhonghua froze. The entire school was watching. They had all heard him mocking me earlier. His face turned bright red. Zhonghua, why are you quiet now? Weren't you the top student in the physical exams? Someone shouted. Top student is nothing compared to a beast tamer. The people who were just kissing Zhonghua's boots a minute ago were now tearing him down. That was the power of a beast tamer. I was a 1 in a million talent now. My future was limitless. They wanted to be on my good side. I'm sorry, Zhonghua muttered, looking at the ground. I shouldn't have laughed at you. Please forgive me. What? I didn't hear you, I said, leaning in. I was wrong. Please, just let it go, he yelled, his voice trembling. He had to submit. There were only a few tamers in the whole town. He couldn't afford to offend me. Next time you see Xiao Fan, you take the long way around. Got it, Fat Chin barked. Zhonghua nodded humiliatedly. I shrugged it off. I had bigger things to worry about, like figuring out this system panel. I went home, but my parents weren't back from work yet. I sat down and pulled up the interface. A notification popped up, newbie gift pack received. Open. I clicked it. Reward, 1 free evolution. Route, any. Reward, Spirit Beast Encyclopedia. New task triggered. Become a hidden beast tamer and shock the world. Requirement. Use the evolution within 10 minutes or the gift pack will be reclaimed. 10 minutes? I panicked. Where was I supposed to find a spirit beast in 10 minutes? Usually, people bought expensive beast eggs or cubs for their first contract. Even the cheapest egg cost 50,000 yuan. My family didn't have that kind of money, and even if we did, I couldn't get one in 10 minutes. Then, my eyes landed on my dad's pet parrot. It was a mangy, half-bald bird he'd rescued from a fire. It was ugly, annoying, and I hated it. But it was the only living thing in the house. Can a normal animal be evolved into a spirit beast? The timer was ticking down. I gritted my teeth. System. Use the evolution on this guy. Ownership confirmed. Evolution starting. A new panel appeared for the bird. Name, Baldy Parrot. Level, Mortal. Talent, Trash. Combat Power, 5. Special Skill, Taunt. 100% chance to draw aggro from enemies with low mental strength. My face sold. Trash talent? And its only skill was making people want to kill it? I was about to lose my mind when the system chimed again. Free evolution successful. Results, Baldy Parrot. Level, Grade 1. Combat Power, 10. Speed, 80. Skill, Taunt, upgraded. You idiot. Big idiot. Super big idiot. The parrot shrieked at me, flapping its wings. My eye twitched. The skill worked perfectly. I already wanted to strangle it. I sighed, realizing I had just become a master of evolution, starting with the world's most annoying bird. If it weren't for the fact that this stupid bird was my only spirit beast, I would have strangled it right then and there. I ignored its screeching and looked back at my system panel. At the bottom, I noticed a plus button. I tapped it, and a few lines of text flickered into view. It turned out I could exchange wealth points for growth points at a 10-to-1 ratio. 10 yuan for 1 point. To get 1,000 growth points, I'd need 10,000 yuan. I checked my phone. I had exactly 50 cents in my digital wallet. My dad had already scraped together 10,000 yuan just to get me into the big 3 exams. I didn't have the heart to ask for another penny. I sighed and headed out to take the trash to the bins. That's when I ran into Su Qingqing coming back home. I froze. She looked at me, confused, but I wasn't looking at her face. A translucent attribute panel had appeared right next to her. Name, Su Qingqing. Age, 15. Profession, Beastmaster. Spirit Seals, 16. Talent, top tier. Then the system scrolled down to her other features. It listed her beauty as world-class, and her body as a golden ratio. It even gave me specific measurements that made my face heat up. 38D? No way. She didn't look that big. I shook my head, trying to focus. My system was giving me a full encyclopedia of spirit beasts on everyone I saw. Behind her, 3 more panels popped up for her beasts. A Grade 1 Blazing Flame Fox, a Grade 1 Thunder Wolf, and a Grade 2 Dragon Mastiff Pup. Everyone knew she was a genius, but nobody knew she already had 3 beasts. Being a grade 2 beast master at 15, with 16 spirit seals was unheard of. What are you staring at? Su Qingqing snapped. Her face flushed red as she realized where my eyes were wandering. Pervert. She shifted her body, covering her chest with her arm, and tried to brush past me. Wait. I blurted out, my eyes fixed on the panel for her dragon mastiff. There's a hidden evolution path for that one. You're taking the wrong route. She stopped dead. What did you say? For a beastmaster, the words special evolution are like gold. Everyone wants their beast to find that rare, hidden path to power, but only grandmaster-level evolvers can usually spot them. Nothing, I said, catching one last glimpse of her golden ratio before hurrying downstairs. I was sure of it now. My system was the real deal. Su Qingqing watched me go, her expression unreadable. She actually did have a dragon mastiff, and a grandmaster had once told her it had special potential. But that grandmaster had died in the wilderness before he could give her the formula. She had spent months researching ancient texts to find the path herself. Was I really telling her she was wrong? When I came back up from the trash bins, she was standing right outside my door. What's up? I asked, yawning. What did you mean back there? She demanded. Do you know how to find the special evolution path? I hesitated, thinking about my empty wallet. 10,000 yuan. I saw her face change and quickly backtracked. Or 5,000. 2,000. I felt like a scammer. She was a genius, sure, but she was still a kid living off her parents. How could she have 10,000 yuan? Su Qingqing stared at me like I was insane. A grandmaster charged hundreds of thousands for a single formula. 10,000 is fine, she said slowly. But what if it fails? I'll give you a refund, I said with a grin. She looked skeptical. It wasn't about the money. A wrong evolution could ruin a beast's potential forever. Forget it then. I'm not forcing you, I said, keeping my voice cool. I walked inside and shut the door. The second the latch clicked, I leaned against the wood and wanted to cry. Why did I have to act so tough? That was 10,000 yuan. Night fell, and my parents didn't come home. My dad was a squad leader in the town guard, and my mom worked logistics. They stayed at the barracks for weeks sometimes when the beast riots got bad. Before dawn, a loud knocking woke me up. I stumbled to the door, yawning, and found Su Qingqing standing there. Give me the evolution plan, she said. Now. Now. I waved her in. She looked incredibly uncomfortable stepping into a guy's house alone. Get together. Get together, my bald parrot suddenly shrieked from its perch. We both froze. I glared at the bird. Why couldn't it have called me an idiot like usual? Su Qingqing's face was bright red. Beautiful night. Wedding night. Worth 1,000 gold, the bird screamed, flapping its wings. Su Qingqing looked like she wanted to disappear. Perverted owner, perverted bird, she muttered. I took a sharp step back, looking at her with fake suspicion. Hey, it's dark out, and we're alone. You don't have any improper thoughts about me, do you? Her face went from red to purple. I have never met anyone as full of themselves as you. Just do it. I pointed to the open space in the living room. She nodded, and a golden spirit seal glowed in her palm. A massive, majestic hound stepped out of a rift in the air. Its fur shone like polished gold. It was a high-grade dragon mastiff pup, a creature you could usually only find in the dangerous western deserts. Beautiful, I whispered. Up close, the system panel was even more detailed. It was a grade 2 beast with S-rank talent and a combat power of 768. It absolutely crushed my parrot in every stat. I tapped the special evolution icon, and a list of materials appeared in my mind. 10 bars of dragon tooth gold. I began, reading them off one by one. 100 liters of emerald rain water. 5 storm ghost teeth. 1 shaka flower. Su Qingqing gasped. So fast. She looked at me in total shock. Even a grandmaster would need days of observation and mountains of research to come up with a list like that. I had done it in seconds. The entire process was rigorous. Compared to a professional, my delivery probably seemed a bit reckless, but as I listed the items, I noticed a pattern. Certain materials actually had synergistic properties when combined. This wasn't the kind of knowledge a normal student would have. Even I barely understood the depth of it. Su Qingqing gave me a long, searching look. She was clearly wondering when I had learned all of this. I didn't stop until I had rattled off dozens of different materials. To be honest, I had no idea how much all of this would cost. But the system was never wrong. I wasn't going to let her waste her money. That's it, she asked. I nodded. That's it. Fine. I'll go get these materials and start the evolution, she said, turning to leave. I cleared my throat loudly. She paused, looking at my hesitant expression, and a smile broke across her face. She understood immediately. Add me on WeChat, she said. Send me your bank details, and I'll transfer the payment. Perfect, I replied. Not only was I getting paid, but I also got the contact info of the school's top beauty. In our high school, Su Qingqing's WeChat was worth its weight in gold. Once the digital handshake was done, she turned to leave again. Wait, I called out. You don't seem like someone who's short on cash. Why are you living in this rundown neighborhood? Su Qingqing froze. A faint blush crept up her neck. She mumbled something under her breath and hurried away before I could respond. I stood there, blinking. What did she just say? Something about an arranged marriage? Arranged marriage? With who? My mind raced. Why would a genius girl like her live across the hall from me? Was she betrothed to that skinny guy from Uncle Wong's place upstairs? He was the only other person my age in this building, a total loser who couldn't find a job after graduation. Damn it, that's not fair. I yelled at the ceiling. Outside the building, Su Qingqing heard my cry. Her face flushed with a mix of anger and embarrassment. Was the idea of being engaged to her really that upsetting to me? The next morning, a notification chimed. Su Qingqing had transferred the money. My system wealth jumped by 10,000. I scrambled out of bed, tossing my messy tissues aside. It was time to level up. My parrot was different from Su Qingqing's beast. It didn't have multiple evolution paths listed. I wasn't sure if the feature wasn't unlocked yet, or if the system had already picked the absolute best route for me. Either way, I spent the full 10,000 on growth points. A ghostly green light erupted from the bald parrot. Its feathers began to shimmer like crystals, illuminating the small room. The bird started to grow, its body swelling until it easily snapped the wire cage I'd kept it in. It reached a foot in height. Its eyes turned wild and piercing, and its talons grew into serrated blades that sliced through the floor tiles like butter. But its head was still completely bald. I pulled up its stats. It was now a grade 2 beast. Its talent had jumped from trash to F rank. Its power had spiked to 288. It was still weak compared to Su Qingqing's Mastiff, but its speed was impressive. Then I saw the upgraded skill, Taunt. It now had a 100% success rate on enemies with low mental strength. Thanks for nothing, I muttered. Drawing the aggro of a powerful enemy is just a fancy way of committing suicide. Still, I wasn't truly disappointed. I had been a beast tamer for less than a day, and I was already at rank 2. In a small town like this, that made me a big deal. The only problem was the next level required 100,000 wealth points. I needed a new hustle. I decided to head to the Beast Tamer Evolution Center. Every city had one. It was the best place to find tamers looking for help with their pets. I sat outside the entrance from morning until noon, but the place was a ghost town. It made sense. There were hardly any beast tamers in this backwater village. I started to worry. Was my plan to sell evolution designs a bust? I had hoped to make enough to buy a high-quality beast egg. Eggs were cheaper than live pups because hatching them was a gamble, like a high-stakes lottery. Just as I was about to give up and find some lunch, a woman walked toward the center. She wore a red combat suit that showed off her long, athletic legs. She was stunning, not as delicate as Su Qingqing, but she had a sharp, heroic edge to her. She looked like military. People stopped to stare as she passed, mostly because of the massive wolf following her. It was over 10 feet tall with fur that flowed like dancing flames. The system panel flickered to life in my vision. Her name was Yi Qinghua, 22 years old. Rank 3 Beast Tamer. The system even gave me her measurements. Long legs, very athletic. But the real shock was her wolf. It was a rank 3 Flame Demon wolf, but its stats were plummeting. It was injured. An evolution had failed. A rank 3 tamer in this tiny town? It was unheard of. I looked at the wolf again. Its growth points had dropped from nearly 100,000 down to 30,000. It was dying. Yi Qinghua didn't notice me at first. She was probably used to men staring at her. As she brushed past, I kept my voice low and steady. Beautiful, Your flame demon wolf isn't looking too good. Yi Qinghua stopped dead in her tracks. She looked down at me, her brow furrowing. How do you know that? She was right to be suspicious. Her wolf had just suffered a massive internal injury from the failed evolution, but it wasn't something a stranger should be able to see just by looking. Her gaze turned razor-sharp. A cold, murderous intent filled the air around her. Who are you? She demanded. Which family sent you to spy on me? The hair on my arms stood up. She wasn't much older than me, but the killing intent coming off her was suffocating. She had clearly seen a lot of blood. Wait. I blurted out, raising my hands. I'm just a kid. No, I'm not a spy. I blurted out, backing away. I'm an evolutionist. I could tell your flame demon wolf just failed in evolution and is suffering from the backlash. The moment those words left my mouth, Yi Qinghua's pupils shrank. She scanned our surroundings instantly. Luckily, nobody was paying attention to us. If word got out that her flame demon wolf was severely injured, the safety of Tianqing town would be in serious jeopardy. Without a word, she grabbed my hand and dragged me straight into the local trading center. She bypassed the main floor and headed for the VIP rooms. Her status clearly wasn't ordinary. She pushed me onto a bed inside the private room and leaned over me, her eyes filled with suspicion and urgency. I immediately gripped the edges of my pants, looking at her with pure resolve. Don't try anything crazy, I warned. I'm a decent guy. I'll die before I let you take advantage of me. Yi Qinghua froze. She realized how compromising her position looked, and a flash of shyness crossed her face. She quickly straightened up and regained her composure. Who are you really? She demanded. I told you. I'm an evolutionist, I said, feeling exhausted. Impossible, she snapped. There's no such thing as an evolutionist as young as you. And even if there were, they wouldn't be in a backwater place like Tianqing town. I was born and raised here, I countered. Where else would I be? She looked even more confused. She had done her homework before coming here. According to the captain of the local guard, Tianqing town only had one rank 2 beast tamer and absolutely 0 evolutionists. You said my wolf failed its evolution, she said, narrowing her eyes. How could you possibly see that? I gave her a weird look. Did you forget already? I just told you. I'm an evolutionist. She shook her head. Fine, but how can you prove you're an actual evolutionist and didn't just get this information from a spy network? I can give your beast a customized evolution plan right now, I said with a confident smile. She stunned. She looked me up and down again, her doubt growing. To see the evolution path of a rank 3 beast, one would have to be an evolution grandmaster. I looked way too young for that title. Fine, I said calmly. Manifest your beast. In this world, manifesting a beast didn't mean summoning the whole creature into a small room. It meant projecting the beast seal, a palm-sized ball of light that represented the creature's core. Yi Qinghua hesitated. Showing your beast seal to a stranger was a huge risk. An expert could easily spot the beast's hidden weaknesses. She stared at me, her sharp, handsome face tight with a cold threat. If you're lying to me, she hissed, I promise you, you'll disappear from Tianqing town forever. I didn't care about the threat. I wasn't a liar. I was just a guy trying to make some money to upgrade my bald parrot. She opened her palm. A ball of crimson light ignited in her hand, and within seconds, the flames condensed into a miniature version of the flame demon wolf. It was a beautiful sight, but as I looked at the data, I shook my head. What a waste. This was supposed to be a rank 4 beast. Now, not only is it further from evolving, but its talent has dropped from grade A to grade B. The stats on my system panel were grim. Its growth points were at 32,500, down from our original 100,000. Seeing those numbers side by side really showed the damage. Losing 60,000 growth points was bad, but the talent drop was heartbreaking. Yi Qinghua's head dropped. The arrogance and dominance from before vanished, replaced by wet eyes. She looked like she was fighting back tears. It's my fault, she whispered. I listened to the wrong people. I hurt my own beast. A flicker of rage ignited in her eyes. She was starting to realize she had been set up. Some grandmaster she met recently had probably tricked her. They likely knew she was coming to reinforce Tianqing town and wanted to cripple her strongest asset. Someone wanted this town to fall. While she was lost in thought, I was busy organizing the special evolution plan the system had generated. Because the wolf was so badly hurt, the material list was massive, over 100 items. When I handed it to her, she gasped. How much is this going to cost? I just smiled, keeping my Grandmaster persona intact, and held out my hand. What? She asked, her brain still lagging. I shoved the list into her arms and looked at her warily. You're not planning on skipping out on the bill, are you? Oh, you mean the fee, she said, slapping her forehead. Right. No evolutionist worked for free. She glanced at the long list of expensive materials and then back at me, looking embarrassed. I'm a bit short on cash right now. Can I pay you later? Her face was beet red. For someone with her pride, saying that was clearly agony. But she was broke. She didn't even have 100,000 credits left. My face fell. This wasn't what I expected. Aren't beast tamers supposed to be the elite? The top 1%? How could she not have 100,000 credits? I was starting to wonder if I should pick a different career. I had only asked for 100,000 as a test. I charged 10,000 for a rank 2 plan, so I figured rank 3 should be higher. Apparently, I overshot it. 100,000. Yi Qinghua repeated, shocked. She stared at me intensely. Are you a scammer? Are you working with the people who tricked me? Her gaze was like fire. I instinctively pulled my collar tight. I'm warning you, I only accept cash. No other forms of payment. Besides, I'm just a kid. She looked frustrated. What is wrong with your head? She stared at me for a long time. She decided I probably wasn't a scammer. A real pro would have asked for millions. Plus, she could take this list to the trading center experts to verify it. They weren't evolutionists, but they knew materials like a pharmacist knows medicine. 100,000 was actually a bargain. It wouldn't even cover a tenth of the materials on the list. Fine, she said. Cash or transfer? Transfer, I said, my excitement bubbling up. Another 100,000 in the bag. I could finally evolve something. Now I just had to decide. Should I keep upgrading my bald parrot or buy a new beast egg? A grade F egg was 50,000, but a grade E jumped straight to 500,000. People always wondered how you could know if an unhatched egg had a special evolution path. That was an evolutionist job, too. Though for most, it was nothing more than a high-stakes gamble. For me, it was a sure thing. Choosing a beast egg was a lot like gambling. An evolutionist with a sharp eye might be able to guess the contents with 50 or 60% accuracy, but most people didn't bother hiring a professional for low-level eggs. It wasn't worth the fee, and even the best evolutionists were essentially placing a bet. If they guessed wrong, they still kept their commission. I watched the notification pop up on my screen. Yi Qinghua's transfer had cleared. My wealth had increased by 100,000 credits. Perfect. The original owner of this body had never seen this much money in his life. If my parents knew I was earning this kind of cash, they'd probably break down in tears of joy. Great doing business with you, I said, waving goodbye to Yi Qinghua with a massive grin. She watched me leave, her suspicion deepening. To her, a real evolutionist shouldn't be this thrilled over a measly 100,000. The masters she knew wouldn't even blink at 10 million. Still, she had the plan in her hand, and the cost had been low. She decided to have someone verify the list before rushing off to support the town guards. I didn't leave the trading center. Instead, I headed straight for the Beast Egg Hall. Even though Tianqing was a remote town, the center was built on a grand scale. The hall was magnificent, with marble floors and golden lights. Every beast egg was displayed in a glass case like a rare diamond. The place was crowded. Most people were just there to sightsee. I saw groups of students being led by teachers for social practice, staring at the eggs they couldn't afford. There was a common superstition that being near unhatched eggs could increase your chances of awakening a soul seal. Some kids spent hours here every day, just staring through the glass, hoping for a miracle. Xiao Fan, what are you doing here? I turned toward the voice. A young woman in a professional suit was walking toward me. She was in her early 20s, bright and polished. Sister Huan, I said, smiling. Just looking around. Didn't you finish your exams? Lu Huan asked, planting her hands on her hips. I told you to come by earlier, but you wouldn't. Now you're coming here to soak up luck? Isn't it a bit late for that? Before I could answer, she reached out and pinched my cheek. I tried to pull away, but she pulled me into a headlock, ruffling my hair until it was a mess. It had happened a dozen times before, but I couldn't help but notice how nice she smelled. A few men nearby glared at me with pure envy. Lu Huan wasn't just pretty. She had a great figure and a vibrant personality. She was the dream girl for half the guys in town. Getting a high-paying, easy job at the trading center only made her more popular. I put on a look of mock grievance, which only made the onlookers more annoyed. "What are you acting for?" Their eyes seemed to say, "Move over and let us take your place." "I heard your school had 2 people awaken as beast tamers this year." A voice sneered. "I guess you're feeling a bit triggered, huh?" A young man in a sharp suit walked over. He was smiling, but his tone was dripping with sarcasm. Before I could speak, Lu Huan pulled me closer, shielding me. "Chao Gang, this has nothing to do with you," she said coldly. "Don't misunderstand," Chao Gang replied, acting like a gentleman. "I'm just reminiscing. Back when I took the exams, we didn't have a single beast tamer. It's a big deal." He looked at me with pity. "Now that the big 3 exams are over, you should probably focus on your liberal arts tests. Even a mediocre university is fine. You'll get a low-level job, but hey, that's life." I started, but Lu Huan cut me off again, shouting, "Chao Gang. That's enough." Her voice went sharp. People started to stare. A colleague nearby gestured for them to keep it down. Lu Huan lowered her voice, her eyes icy. "You aren't even friends with Xiao Fan. Stop acting like you care." "Me? Be friends with him?" Chao Gang chuckled. "He's not on my level." Lu Huan was about to snap back, but I finally managed to wiggle out of her grip. I took a deep breath. She was a bit overprotective, and honestly, her hug was starting to suffocate me. "Sister Huan, ignore him," I said. "I actually came here to buy an egg." Lu Huan froze. "You want to buy an egg?" Chao Gang burst out laughing. "You really think hanging around these things will help you awaken? Pure delusion. Commoners are so ignorant." Lu Huan ignored him and turned to me, her voice softening with concern. "Xiao Fan, I know your family's situation. Don't waste your money. Parents buy these every year hoping for a miracle, but it never works." She and I had grown up in the same neighborhood. Even though her family moved away a few years ago, she had always been like a big sister to me. "But I already won the bet," I said, intending to tell her I was already a tamer. Suddenly, a commotion broke out on the other side of the hall. "Based on my observations, this egg has multiple evolution paths. It's superior to the others," an elderly man said. He had a white beard and looked pale, sweat beading on his forehead. I looked over. An evolutionist? A family was standing next to him, looking conflicted. Chao Gang immediately lost interest in mocking me and hurried over to them, wearing a flattering smile. "Master Jiang is the top expert in Tianxing Town," Chao Gang told the family. "If he recommends it, you can't go wrong. Look at the luster on this rank 1 egg. It's clearly special." The old man shook his head weakly. "I'm no evolutionist. I was just a rank 3 soul master in my youth. My mental strength is slightly higher than average, allowing me to peek through the shell. My word is just a reference." "You're too modest," Chao Gang insisted. "The F-grade egg you picked for my family had 17 different evolution paths." The crowd gasped. 17 paths for an F-grade was incredible. Usually, you had to pay a fortune for a pre-hatched beast to get those kinds of stats. Finding that in a random egg was like hitting the jackpot. The family's eyes lit up as they stared at the egg. "It was partly luck," the old man said, catching his breath. "Actually," I spoke up, my voice cutting through the chatter, "I think the one next to it is much better." The crowd went silent. They turned to see me standing at the back, peeking over people's shoulders. "Xiao Fan," Lu Huan hissed, grabbing my sleeve and trying to pull me back. "Don't talk nonsense." The middle-aged man from the family looked confused. But Master Jiang already rejected that one. He said the quality was the worst in the batch. "Is that so?" I whispered. In my vision, data panels were floating over the eggs on the counter. The egg Master Jiang recommended. Beast, Fire Spirit Mouse. Rank, 1, Evolution Paths. 3, Potential, Low. The egg I was pointing at. Beast, Lightning Snake. Rank, 1, Evolution Paths. 35, Potential, High. To my beast illustration system, a mere eggshell was nothing. I could see everything. Master Jiang looked at me, his face flushing with anger. Where did this brat come from? This lightning snake egg looked plain and unremarkable. It had none of the spiritual glow people usually looked for. Compared to the fire spirit mouse egg, it looked like a dud. Chao Gang let out a cold sneer. Master Jiang, please don't be angry. This kid is just a student from Tianqing High. He's a loser who failed all 3 major exams. He's just flapping his gums to get attention. The crowd's faces darkened as soon as they heard I was a failed student. Even the middle-aged man from the family looked furious. What is a student doing giving advice here? A rank 1 beast egg costs 500,000 credits. If we pick a low-quality one because of you, can you take responsibility for the loss? Beside him, a young girl about my age gave me a look of pure disdain. There are only 2 beast tamers in your entire school this year. Did you really think you were one of them? Come back and talk when you actually have a beast. She had clearly just passed her exams and awakened her beast seal. To her, someone like me was beneath notice. I just smiled and shrugged. I'm just sharing my perspective. The choice is yours. There's no need for the insults. You? A perspective? Chao Gang mocked. Who do you think you are? The crowd followed his lead, hurling accusations at me. They called me a smooth-talking brat and told me I was wasting everyone's time. Lu Huan saw the situation spiraling out of control. She knew Chao Gang was intentionally making me a target. I'm so sorry, everyone, she said, stepping in front of me. My brother doesn't know how the market works. Please, forgive him. Seeing her defend me only made Chao Gang more jealous. Lu Huan, don't let him come to the trading hall anymore. If he offends a high-profile client, can you handle the fallout? Lu Huan started to panic. If I kept being stubborn, she wouldn't just lose her job. I'd be in serious trouble with the trading center. This place was run by the Federation and guarded by powerful warriors. Worse, Chao Gang had connections here. Xiao Fan, please, just listen to me and go home, she whispered. I knew she was trying to protect me, but I actually came here to buy an egg. I looked at Chao Gang and smiled. How about a bet? Let's see which egg is actually better. Chao Gang laughed, delighted by my perceived ignorance. Fine. What's the stake? If I win, you give me this egg for free, I said. If I lose, I'll buy it at full price, and you get the commission. Lu Huan's face went pale. She thought I'd lost my mind. This wasn't some cheap F-grade egg. It was worth 500,000 credits. There was no way I had that kind of money. She reached out to stop me, but I took her hand and gave it a gentle, reassuring squeeze. Haha, the newborn calf really doesn't fear the tiger, Chao Gang shouted. Deal. If you win, I'll pay for the egg out of my own pocket. He was confident. Master Jiang didn't like the egg, and in his own experience, dull eggs like this usually had the weakest vitality. He wanted to see me ruined. He wanted Lu Huan to see that a commoner like me would always be a loser. He called over a hatcher immediately, afraid I'd back out. 2 temperature-controlled incubators were brought out. Usually, hatching fees were expensive, but for rank 1 eggs, the service was free. An hour passed. The eggs began to vibrate. Cracks spider-webbed across the shells at the same time. From one, a faint aura of fire drifted out. From the other, my egg, a blinding flash of lightning erupted. Master Jiang and Chao Gang both turned white. How is this possible? As the 2 weak hatchlings crawled out, the difference was obvious to everyone. The lightning snake's quality was far superior to the fire spirit mouse. Even Lu Huan covered her mouth in shock. I remained calm, acting as if everything was going exactly to plan. The family who had listened to Master Jiang looked sick. Not only was the snake high quality, but the mouse they had almost bought was subpar, barely better than a common pet. I smiled and cupped my hands toward Chao Gang. Thanks for your generosity, Brother Chao. I'll be taking this lightning snake now. Chao Gang panicked. 500,000 was a massive sum. He'd only been working a few years and spent his money fast. He'd have to beg his family for the cash, and they would kill him for losing a bet this stupidly. Xiao Fan, how did you do that? Lu Huan asked, her eyes wide with wonder. Luck, I lied with a humble grin. I just had a feeling about this one. The crowd sighed. Luck, it had to be. But Chao Gang's face was twisted with rage. He couldn't believe I'd gambled that much on mere luck and won. Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted, I'll give you 600,000 for that lightning snake hatchling. I blinked. I didn't realize people would bid on the spot. 600? Don't be cheap. Another voice boomed. A hatchling with this much potential is worth at least 800,000. Kid, I'll take it for 800. A burly, rugged man stepped forward. He smelled of blood and iron. I could tell immediately. He was a hunter, a warrior who risked his life in the wilderness to steal beast cubs. It was a dangerous, high-stakes profession. As soon as he bid, the room went quiet. No one wanted to outbid a man who looked like he killed for a living. I hesitated. I had planned to keep the snake for myself, but 800,000 credits was a fortune. Looking at the snake's data again, its base stats were actually just average. It only looked good because it had so many evolution paths. For me, that didn't matter as much because my system could optimize any beast. With that much money, I could buy resources to evolve my bald parrot into something terrifying. All right, I said. Since this snake caught your eye, it's yours. The hunter, whose name was Wang Meng, transferred the money instantly. He picked up the snake and gave me a nod. If you ever need help in this town, look me up. Master Zhang gasped. Wang Meng, he's a rank 3 warrior. In Tianqing Town, a rank 3 warrior was a powerhouse, capable of taking on 100 men alone. The people who had been mocking me earlier now looked terrified. Not only had I made a fortune, but I now had the backing of a dangerous expert. Chao Gang stood there, trembling. He had lost his money, his pride, and now he had to watch a loser walk away with the protection of a man like Wang Meng. I had been smart enough to sell that lightning snake to Wang Meng. If I hadn't, there was no way I would have walked out of that room with the beast. Now, Chao Gang was the one left holding the bag, trembling with a mix of rage and regret. Let's go, Sister Huan. My treat. We're getting a feast, I said, grinning ear to ear. I was a rich man now. Between the sale and the credits Yi Qinghui gave me, I had 900,000 credits sitting in my account. In a place like Tianqing Town, that was enough to buy a nice 2-bedroom apartment. If I didn't spend it on evolving beasts, I could finally move my parents out of our cramped, crumbling shack. I still have to work, Lu Huan replied with a smile. I'll find you after my shift. I didn't head home immediately. Instead, I wandered over to the local pet market. Most people looked for quality, but with my infinite beast seal, I had a different philosophy. Why not win with quantity? The system could optimize anything, so I just needed raw materials. The market was filled with common pets and strange hybrids, red-furred mastiffs, green-scaled lizards, and spiders the size of human heads. These mutant pets were mostly just cosmetic freaks, but their prices were 10 times higher than normal animals. I wasn't looking for a status symbol. I wanted a bargain. Is there anything uglier than my bald parrot? I muttered to myself. The answer was yes. Absolutely yes. I stopped in front of a cage containing a bald husky. It didn't have a single hair on its head, just smooth, pink skin and a look in its eyes that suggested it thought it was better than everyone else. A crooked sign hung from its neck, Mutant Husky. Special clearance. 200 credits. 200? For a mutant? My eyes lit up as I pulled up its data. Species. Mutant Husky. Level. 0. Talent. Unranked. 500. Growth. 15/100. Combat power. 5. It was a complete weakling, just like my parrot. But then I saw the bottom line. Special bloodline. Grade A flame dog. 1%. My heart skipped a beat. A Grade A bloodline? In Tianqing Town, even a Grade C beast was a rarity. Grade A beasts were luxuries reserved for the great metropolises, worth hundreds of millions of credits. If you could even find one for sale. If I could use my system to activate that bloodline, I wouldn't just be making a profit. I'd be hitting the jackpot. The stall owner saw me staring intensely at the dog. Hey kid, if you like him, just take him. He's a mutant. They say his father was something special. I kept my face expressionless. Lower the price. He's too ugly. Ugly? You were just looking at him like he was a long-lost lover. The owner stammered, confused. Are you saying my taste is bad? I countered. The owner sighed, defeated. Fine. 100 credits, and I'll throw in a bag of dog food. No haggling, and no refunds. I nodded. Deal. I realized I'd been played when he handed me the free bag of food. It weighed 50 kilograms. The food alone was probably worth more than the 100 credits I paid for the dog. He wasn't selling me a pet. He was paying me to take out his trash. With my pathetic physical strength, I had to drag the massive bag of food and the arrogant, bald dog all the way home. The dog strutted beside me, drawing stares from everyone on the street. A few girls even stopped to take pictures with it. Apparently, being this ugly made it a chick magnet. I finally reached my apartment building, sweating and gasping for air. Standing by my door was Su Qingchen. She was wearing a short, pale yellow dress that showed off her long, porcelain white legs. Wait, did she just get even prettier? I thought. Ever since she stopped wearing her school uniform, she looked like a different person. I couldn't help but wonder why she was engaged to that kid from the Wang family. Su Qingchen ignored my wandering eyes. She was used to my nonsense. She looked at the bald dog and the heavy bag of food. You bought a dog? Yeah. I wheezed, trying to heave the bag up the last step. Suddenly, my foot slipped. The weight of the 50-kilogram bag dragged me backward. I was going to tumble down the concrete stairs with a bald husky on top of me. I closed my eyes, bracing for a hospital visit. Instead, I felt my body go weightless. My back hit something soft and warm. Are you okay? Su Qingchen's voice was right in my ear. I could feel her breath on my neck. I opened my eyes to find her holding me around the waist with one arm, while her other hand effortlessly gripped the heavy bag of dog food. She didn't even look winded. I was stunned. Chen Wei had the strength of half a horse and barely passed his exams, but Su Qingchen was on another level. She looked delicate, but she was as strong as an ox. The bald husky, who had actually tumbled down the stairs, let out a pathetic howl from the bottom. It looked at us with betrayal in its eyes, wondering why nobody had caught him. Su Qingchen set me down. I looked at her, my expression dead serious. Can I ask you a question? What is it? She asked, looking concerned. You have such an impressive figure, I said, gesturing vaguely at her chest. Why do you wrap yourself up so tightly? It's a waste. Her face turned bright red in a split second. Pervert. Slap. The sound echoed through the hallway. A few minutes later, I was sitting in my living room with a swollen cheek. Su Qingchen was sitting across from me. I came here to thank you, she said, her voice still a bit sharp. Message received, I mumbled, rubbing my face. Before she left, she hesitated at the door. About the other day, your reaction to the news of the arranged marriage. Do you really have a problem with it? I thought about the golden boy from the Wang family and felt a sudden pang of jealousy. Of course, I said firmly. Times have changed. We should believe in free will. Arranged marriages are just parents forcing their will on their children. As youth of the new era, we should fight for our own happiness, not just follow orders. Su Qingchen's eyes widened. She looked at me with genuine surprise. I realized she probably thought I hated the idea of being tied to her specifically. Little did she know, I was just annoyed that someone else was in the picture. She bit her lip, turned around, and walked away without another word. I watched Su Qingchen walk away, her back stiff with indignation. She clearly didn't agree with my stance. To her, arranged marriages were a common reality in Yuehua City, a way to cement family ties and political power. She probably thought I was living in a fantasy world, influenced by too many TV dramas and novels. She looked at me with watery eyes, biting back her frustration, and finally slammed the door behind her. The silence that followed made me wonder if I'd gone too far. After all, the golden boy from the Wang family was actually a decent guy, and we were on good terms. I felt a slight twinge of guilt for sabotaging his potential engagement, but I quickly shook it off. I had bigger problems to worry about, like my bald pets. System, I muttered, looking at the scruffy dog sitting on my floor. I want to contract this bald husky as my beast. A faint reddish glow emanated from the dog. It was the same light that appeared when a tamer imprinted their soul onto a high-level spirit beast, though this glow was pathetic and dim. Asterisk ding. Bald Husky has become the host's beast. Asterisk. I checked its stats. It was bottom of the barrel. Level, mortal. Talent, unranked. Combat power, 5. It did have a tiny sliver of a special bloodline, a 1% trace of an A-rank flame fist. I didn't hesitate. I poured my resources into it. Evolve. Light swirled around the husky. Its body bulked up slightly, and its eyes took on a look of supreme arrogance, as if it suddenly believed it was invincible. Evolution successful. 10,000 credits deducted. The stats doubled, but they were still embarrassing. Its combat power was now 20. But it was the new skill that caught my eye. Intimidate. Apparently, it could scare enemies with lower mental strength just by looking at them with that "I don't give a damn" expression. This is useless, I groaned. One of my beasts was a taunting machine, and the other was a professional starer. The bald parrot started circling the room, flapping its wings and shrieking at the dog. Stupid dog. Big stupid dog. The husky's eyes turned cold. It let out a low, guttural growl that actually made the air in the room feel heavy. My heart started racing. My own mental strength was low, only 0.1, so even this weak skill was affecting me. I braced myself for a fight. Stupid dog. Ugly bald dog, the parrot screamed. Growling. The husky rumbled, its gaze intensifying. Come on, catch me if you can, you moron. 5 minutes passed. They just kept doing it. One screamed insults. The other just growled and stared. Neither moved an inch. My blood pressure spiked. I had two top-tier idiots. One was a loudmouth. The other was a coward who only knew how to pose. If they ever got into a real fight, they wouldn't just be killed, they'd be humiliated. System, evolve the husky again, I commanded through gritted teeth. I'd already spent the money. I had to see this through. Even if it stayed a coward, maybe it could at least bully some weaker enemies if I pumped its stats high enough. Ding. Evolution successful. 100,000 credits deducted. The husky reached the good grade. Its combat power jumped to nearly 400. Still, compared to Su Qingxin's dragon lion cub, this was garbage. That was the gap in natural talent. An S-rank beast could crush almost anything at its level. But then I saw it. The special bloodline purity had jumped to 2%. My heart skipped a beat. If 10,000 credits equaled 1% purity, then 1 million credits could turn this scruffy dog into an A-rank flame dog. In the big cities, an A-rank cub cost hundreds of millions. I could create one for a fraction of that. This changed everything. I could buy cheap, broken pets and turn them into gods. I pushed the excitement down. I didn't have that kind of money yet. The priority was getting both the parrot and the dog to rank 3. System, continue evolution. While I was busy in my living room, 50 kilometers outside Tianqing town, a bloodbath was unfolding. A 1,000-man garrison was desperately trying to hold back a tide of over 200 fierce beasts. Martial artists, with me. Everyone else, cover us with firebombs, a commander shouted. He was a rank 3 warrior, his silver spear whistling through the air as he impaled a wolf beast the size of a small truck. My father, Old Lin, was in that mess. He wasn't a regular martial artist who had graduated from an academy. He was a self-taught rank 1 warrior who had clawed his way up through sheer grit and near-death experiences. Old Lin, don't push too far. There's a rank 2 beast ahead, his friend shouted over the roar of battle. Old Lin didn't slow down. He could feel the crushing pressure of the rank 2 beast nearby, but he couldn't retreat. If the line broke here, the beast tide would wash over Tianqing town like a flood. He grit his teeth and charged forward into the chaos. Old Lin cut down a rank 1 beast, but as he looked up, he came face to face with a rank 2 monster. For the first time in his years with the garrison, he felt the icy grip of death. His throat went dry. He swallowed hard, thinking of me back in Tianqing town. He probably pictured me studying hard for my exams, safe and sound. He always told me that being an ordinary person was fine. It was a hard life, but it was a safe one. He gritted his teeth, his face hardening with desperate resolve. Kill, he screamed, charging toward the terrifying tiger beast with his blade raised high. His friend, Old Zhang, watched in horror, but he was pinned down by other monsters. Even the commander was busy fighting a rank 3 beast and couldn't break away. Everyone knew it. Old Lin was a dead man. The tiger beast looked at Old Lin with pure disdain in its golden eyes. It let out a roar that shook the earth and raised a massive paw to crush him into the dirt. Just as the blow was about to land, a streak of fire tore through the air. The impact was instantaneous. A massive hole was burned right through the rank 2 beast. A wolf, even larger and more terrifying than the tiger, stepped in front of Old Lin. It let out a thunderous howl that sent dozens of surrounding beasts scrambling back in terror. The momentum of the entire beast tide was shattered in a single moment. Old Lin stood there, stunned. The intense heat from the wolf had instantly evaporated the cold sweat on his skin. Fall back. I'm taking over, a voice said. It wasn't loud, but it commanded the entire battlefield. Old Lin looked up, his eyes wide. A beast tamer, you're finally here. The commander was ecstatic. Reinforcements from Moonlight City had arrived. But as he looked at the wolf, he realized something was different. Its aura was too strong, its body too massive. This wasn't a rank 3 beast anymore. It looked like it had evolved to rank 4. A rank 4 beast tamer was a powerhouse even in the big cities. The wolf roared again, and a sea of crimson fire erupted from its jaws. It wasn't a fight anymore, it was a slaughter. The fire turned the ground to ash, and the beast's screams filled the air. 200 monsters were wiped out in minutes. We won, the soldiers cried, weeping with relief. They had been ready to die, but one woman had changed everything. One powerful beast tamer was worth an entire army. Old Lin approached the woman, his heart still racing. He owed her his life. He thought of his wife and me, realizing how close he'd come to leaving us behind. Yi Qinghua barely looked at him. Are you Yi Qinghua? The commander asked, stepping forward with deep respect. She nodded, but her first question caught everyone off guard. There is an evolution grandmaster in this town. Why wasn't I notified? The commander froze. A grandmaster? Here. He'd lived in Tianqing town for decades and had never heard of such a person. He's very young. Yi Qinghua continued, her brow furrowed. Maybe 17 or 18. Handsome, wearing ordinary clothes. You really haven't seen him? The soldiers swapped confused looks. A grandmaster at 18? It sounded impossible. To be an evolutionist, you needed massive amounts of knowledge and mental power. The only expert they knew was an old man named Jiang. Old Lin listened, feeling a strange sense of irony. 17 or 18. That was my age. He sighed. If only his son was a grandmaster, he'd be the happiest man alive. Meanwhile, back at my place, the system chimed. The evolution was a success. I looked at my pets and blinked. The bald parrot was now 5 feet tall. Its feathers were a brilliant emerald green, and beneath them were shimmering, rock-hard scales. Its claws looked like they could tear through steel. When it flapped its wings, the wind nearly blew my furniture over. I checked the stats. Both the parrot and the dog were now rank 3. The dog's flame bloodline had jumped to 12%, and its combat power was off the charts. The parrot had even gained a taunt skill that could force enemies to focus all their hate on it. Everything was perfect, except for one thing. System, I muttered, staring at them. Why are they still bald? Apparently, some things were just incurable. I checked my balance. I had 780,000 credits left, but the next evolution required a full 1,000,000. I needed another big client, but beast tamers were rare in a small town like this. My phone buzzed. It was Sister Huan. I'm downstairs, she said. Dinner's on me. I didn't need to be told twice. I headed down and saw a sleek new car parked by the entrance. Lu Huan waved at me, wearing stylish sunglasses. You bought a car? I asked, impressed. Just a little something to get around, she said with a grin. 230,000 credits. You're getting rich, Sister Huan, I joked as I hopped in. I slid into the passenger seat, the smell of the new car still fresh. Not bad, Sister Huan, I joked. But you're the one who just made 800,000 credits. What are we eating? My treat. Whatever you want, I said, feeling generous. In that case, I won't be polite, she laughed. Her driving was an experience. She only stalled the engine 3 times before we arrived. But when she pulled up, I blinked. It was a rundown little shop I knew all too well. Sister Huan, I said I'd buy you something nice. Why here? This was Olga's place. She used to bring me here before she went off to college 7 or 8 years ago. I still came here often. The food was average, but the price was unbeatable. In a world where a bowl of noodles cost 15 credits, Olga still sold them for 5. You even got a tea egg if you were lucky. Olga himself was a man in his 60s who always looked like he was halfway through a nap. He was a bit of a rogue, always teasing Sister Huan back in the day, but he had a good heart. To me, this is the good stuff, she said, hopping out of the car. I've missed this taste. We walked in, and sure enough, Olga was dozing behind the counter. Business is booming, and you're sleeping, Olga? I shouted. He cracked an eye open and grinned when he saw us. Oh, if it isn't little Huan. You're getting prettier every day. I rolled my eyes. I was the one who called out to him, but the old lecher only had eyes for her. Your business is still the same, Sister Huan noted, looking at the empty tables. Hardly anyone here. Old Gua sighed. Young people like those flashy restaurants now. They don't want to come to a dump like this. He's talking about you, I teased, yet you're still here. With a big customer like you coming 3 times a week, I'm doing just fine. Old Gua retorted with a chuckle. All right, Old Gua, bring us the best you've got, I said. I'm paying. As we sat down, Sister Huan leaned in, her eyes bright. Xiaofan, did you hear? The garrison won a massive battle. They wiped out 200 beasts outside the city. That impressive? I asked. I'd been too busy with my birds and dogs to check the news. My dad should be coming home soon, she whispered. Word is, a high-ranking beast tamer helped them. Someone who reached rank 4 after getting advice from a hidden master right here in Tianqing town. I paused. A hidden master? Exactly. It happened at the trading center. Most people don't know, but since I work there, I hear things. Old Gua walked over with 2 steaming bowls of noodles. A hidden master in our little town? That's news. My mind raced. Long legs? Flame demon wolf? Wait, was it Yi Qinghua? Sister Huan stared at me, her chin resting on her hands. How did you know? She didn't wait for an answer, shifting the topic. Anyway, I should criticize you. Why did you offend Chao Gang? The Chao family is powerful here. They won't let this go. I'm not afraid of him, I muttered, slurping my noodles. She sighed. You haven't entered society yet, Xiaofan. You don't know how vicious people can be. The Chao family runs half the trading center. Even the old man, Elder Jiang, is close with them. You embarrass them both. How can a regular person like you fight back? Old Gua chimed in then. Huan, you've gotten timid. The Chao family is only big in this tiny pond. Outside of Tianqing town, nobody knows who they are. Old Gua, don't encourage him, she snapped. You stay in this shop all day, you don't know the world. I know enough, the old man said proudly. If things get bad, Fan can just follow me. I know a few secret martial arts techniques. I could teach him. I suppressed a smile. Old Gua had asked me to be his apprentice before, but I'd turned him down. He talked a big game for a guy selling 5-credit noodles. If you really protected him, that would be one thing, Sister Huan sighed. But you're always busy. Old Gua coughed, looking a bit embarrassed. Well, the shop is very busy. He looked at me seriously. But she's right, Fan. Don't pick fights unless you have the strength to win. I don't think they'd dare move against a beast tamer, I said calmly. Sister Huan groaned. Even if you were a beast tamer, the Chao family. Wait, did you say you were a beast tamer? Her eyes went wide. Even Old Gua stopped wiping the counter. Yeah, I said. 2 people from the high school passed the exam this year. I'm one of them. The shop went silent. They stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Is it that hard to believe? I asked. There were 2, Sister Huan whispered, processing it. Su Qingshun, who had 13 soul seals, and the other one who only had 1. That was you, I nodded. Actually, the rumors were wrong. Su Qingshun had 16 seals and was already rank 3. And me? I didn't have 1 seal. I had infinite seals. But I didn't need to tell them that. Xiaofan, you really are full of surprises, she said, her voice soft. She'd watched me grow up, always thinking I was just an ordinary kid. But do you even have a spirit beast? You shouldn't have sold that lightning snake to the hunter. I took a bite of my noodles and smiled. Don't worry, Sister Huan. I've already got that covered. I let a soft glow emanate from my palm. With a flash of light, my bald parrot flew out, circling Old Gua's cramped little shop, once before landing squarely on the table. Scam shop! Scam shop! The bird shrieked, its voice piercingly loud. Dirty and broken. Nobody comes here. Closing soon. Closing soon. Old Gua's face went dark instantly. A sudden, inexplicable surge of rage flashed in his eyes, and his hand instinctively gripped the kitchen knife on the counter. A second later, he let go, looking confused. He seemed shaken by his own sudden temper. Are you sure this is your spirit beast? Old Gua asked, his expression shifting to something strange. Yeah, I replied. I don't know, Fan. It looks like a common animal to me. Old Gua grumbled, narrowing his eyes. The parrot was large, but it lacked the aura of a spirit beast. It just looked like a regular bird with a bad attitude. My family used to keep a parrot just like this. Stop fooling around. Old Gua and Sister Huan shouted at the same time. Old Gua's usual calm was gone. He looked at me with a mix of sternness and genuine disappointment. You only have one soul seal. Don't you know that once a seal is occupied, you're stuck? Unless the beast dies in battle, forcibly removing it will damage your soul. Oh, is that how it works? I asked. I honestly didn't know. I hadn't bothered to research it because I didn't need to. With my infinite soul seals, the rules of normal beast tamers didn't apply to me. Old Guo was speechless with frustration. Sister Huan sighed, rubbing her temples. You're too reckless. You should have asked someone before making such a permanent mistake. I think it's fine, I said, trying to calm them down. I realized if I didn't show them something, they were going to lecture me into a coma. Even though he looks like a common bird, he evolves incredibly fast. He's already rank 3. The shop went silent again. Rank 3. Old Gua's jaw nearly hit the floor. He looked like I'd just told him the sun was made of ice. Yes. Rank 3, I confirmed. Old Gua and Sister Huan exchanged a look. They started rationalizing it to themselves. Maybe common animals were easier to evolve because they lacked the complex foundations of true spirit beasts. It made sense, in a way, but it was still a waste. No sane beast tamer would burn a precious soul seal on a common parrot. How strong is he? Old Gua asked. I looked at the parrot and smiled. Show them. The bird understood immediately. It opened its beak wide. Old Gua and Sister Huan tensed up, bracing for a devastating rank 3 elemental attack. Flat chest. Flat chest. The parrot screamed at Sister Huan. No one wants you. No one wants you. Sister Huan instinctively looked down at herself, then glared at me, her face turning bright red with fury. Am I really that flat? I broke into a cold sweat. I didn't say it. I think you're fine. Enough for a baby not to starve, at least. Barely enough, Old Gua added helpfully, throwing fuel on the fire. The parrot turned its head toward him. Scam shop. Closing down. Lonely old man. Creepy pervert. Old Gua's smile vanished. His face turned a sickly shade of iron blue. I winced. The bird had managed to offend everyone in the room within 10 seconds. I wanted it to show off its strength, not its special talent for psychological warfare. A cold, heavy atmosphere filled the shop. Sister Huan and Old Guo were staring at the parrot with eyes like ice. Even I felt a strange, suffocating pressure in the air. Hey, you two. I called out. They both snapped out of it, looking bewildered. They seemed confused as to why they were getting so genuinely angry at a bird. Xiao Fan, does this thing have any abilities other than insulting people? Sister Huan asked, sounding exhausted. You need to find a way to strip that seal. It's a waste. I just smiled and didn't explain. I finished my noodles and headed out, leaving Sister Huan behind to chat with Old Gua. As I reached the street corner, I looked back at the shop. My expression turned serious. Something was off. When those two got angry, they had leaked a very powerful aura. Their blood chi felt incredibly dense. I knew Sister Huan was talented, but Old Gua? His aura felt even stronger than hers. Was I imagining things? If he was that powerful, why was he selling 5-credit noodles in a rundown shop? He'd been here since I was a kid. Real-life experts didn't just hide in small towns to play at being commoners. That was the stuff of novels. Real power required constant struggle and resources. Inside the shop, Old Gua and Sister Huan were watching me through the window. I can't believe the kid actually awakened a soul seal, Old Gua sighed. But he wasted his talent. A common beast is still a common beast. Even at rank 3, it won't cut it. There are 7 new beast tamers in town this year, Sister Huan said, her tone turning professional. The evil sect is likely targeting them. Does the trading center have a plan? They only have one rank 3 martial artist here, Old Gua replied. But they're sending a rank 4 from Yuehua City to pick up their geniuses. If they have extra strength, they might protect the others. A rank 4? That's a big move, Sister Huan mused. But with the evil sect involved, it's risky. If they send a spirit master instead of a martial artist, we're in trouble. They kill without a trace. Old Gua nodded. And we can't ignore Su Qingqian. 13 soul seals, it's unheard of. I remember holding her when she was a baby. She's just like her mother. Her mother was a legend, Sister Huan whispered. 15 seals. She shocked the entire Federation before she went missing in the Shisha wasteland. The mention of the wasteland made the room feel colder. It was a place of endless sand, deadly beasts, and the dragon's nest, a ticking time bomb that could destroy the Federation at any moment. People went there seeking miracles, like true dragon eggs, but most were buried in the dunes. For the sake of a hero's daughter, Old Gwa said firmly, "We have to ensure she stays safe." "You're much more mature and stable now," Old Gwa said, looking at Sister Huan. "Back when you first joined the Dark Guards, you were a real rebel." Sister Huan rolled her eyes. "That was ages ago. Do we really need to bring that up? Besides, I've been wondering, why would someone like Su Qingqian stay in a dump like Tianqing Town instead of Yuehua City?" Old Gwa shook his head slowly. "I'm not entirely sure. I heard she's here to settle some sort of bad blood from the previous generation." "Bad blood?" Sister Huan's eyes lit up with gossip. "Like revenge? A family feud?" "Probably not," Old Gwa replied. "The Su family has plenty of experts. They wouldn't need to send her out alone for a hit. It's more personal." "Don't tell me it's an arranged marriage." Sister Huan smirked. Old Gwa actually spat out his tea. "I doubt it. I knew her father. He wasn't the traditional type, and he doted on that girl. There's no way he'd set her up with a fiancé, especially not some local old son-in-law in a backwater place like this." I didn't hear their conversation, of course. I was busy at the bird and flower market. I decided to invest in a new companion, and I ended up walking home with a cat. A bald cat. I was starting to wonder if I had a curse. Why were all the creatures I picked out hairless? First the parrot, now this. I'd spent an hour comparing a dozen stalls before settling on this specific mutant. Its stats were solid, even if it couldn't quite match my bald husky back at home. I looked at the data floating in my vision. It was a bald blue cat, spirit grade. Its talent was unrated, but it had a unique growth trait. For every 100 points of growth, its talent value increased by 10. It had decent strength and speed for its level, but the real kicker was its special skill, deep claw marks. They carried a mild toxin. Plus, it had a 1% trace of B-rank Night Demon Cat blood. It wasn't a world breaker yet, but compared to my parrot, this cat was actually built for combat. I was cradling the bald cat in my arms as I walked toward my apartment building. I stopped short when I saw a stranger standing near the entrance. The man was looking up, staring intently at a window on the second floor. That was Su Qingqian's window. I'd lived here long enough to know everyone in the building, and I'd never seen this guy before. He looked to be in his 30s, wearing plain clothes, the kind of face you'd forget the second he walked past you. "Who are you looking for?" I asked. The man turned his head slowly. His eyes were dull, almost robotic. When his gaze landed on the bald cat in my arms, he actually winced. I couldn't blame him. The cat was so ugly it made my own scalp itch. He didn't answer. He just turned around and started to walk away. After a few paces, he stopped and looked back over his shoulder, a flicker of feigned surprise on his face. "Wait, I think I've seen your picture," he said. "Are you a student at Tianqing High?" My internal alarms went off instantly. My picture? Think about it. There were only 2 students from Tianqing High living in this building, me and Su Qingqian. He'd been staring at her window, and now he was mentioning my photo. He wasn't looking for a friend. This guy was on a mission. Was he her father? No, too young. A brother? They looked nothing alike. This guy had the rough, weathered look of someone from a poor background, nothing like Su Qingqian's refined aura. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice tight. I didn't even try to hide my suspicion. The man let out a small, contemptuous laugh. To him, I was just a jumpy kid, a shrimp, not even worth the effort of killing. I could practically see the gears turning in his head. He probably figured he'd finish off Su Qingqian first, then kill me as a bonus. He didn't realize I was reading him like a book. He was likely a member of the evil sect. Su Qingqian was a massive threat to them. 13 soul seals meant she was a once-in-a-century genius. They either had to recruit her or erase her before she grew too powerful to stop. They already hated her family. Her mother had been one of their biggest enemies before she vanished in the wasteland. The man thought he was the predator, but I was staring at his stats. Asterisk name, Chao Shuanglong. Age, 33. Occupation, rank, 3 martial artist. Traits, mean, sinister, treacherous, a cold-blooded killer. A rank 3 martial artist. In a place like Tianqing town, that made him a god. The head of the local garrison was only rank 3. The chief of the law enforcement bureau was likely the same. One rank 3 could slaughter 1,000 ordinary people without breaking a sweat. Their blood energy was 100 times stronger than a normal human's. If I didn't have my 2 rank 3 beasts hidden away, I would have been terrified. Instead, I forced a dumb, innocent smile onto my face. "Uncle, I'm a student at Tianqing High," I said, sounding as harmless as possible. "I just finished the big 3 exams." "Oh, the exams." Chao Shuanglong smiled back, his expression warm and fatherly. "Did you get a good score?" "It was okay. I wasn't totally satisfied," I said, putting on a boastful, arrogant look. I saw the flicker of disdain in his eyes. He thought I was just another shallow brat who couldn't hide his pride. It made him relax. To him, killing a genius student with no life experience was the easiest job in the world. He was probably already wondering where to dump my body. "Actually," I said, leaning in like I was sharing a big secret, "I'm a beast tamer. I awakened a soul seal during the exams." Chao Shuanglong didn't even blink. "Is that so? Good for you." He didn't care. But his lack of reaction told me everything. A normal person would have been shocked to meet a beast tamer. The fact that he wasn't surprised meant he already knew. He had investigated me. "You don't believe me?" I frowned, acting offended. "I didn't say that," he replied smoothly. "You don't look surprised at all," I pressed. He froze for a split second. He realized he'd messed up his ordinary guy act. He was supposed to be impressed. As he scrambled to think of a cover story, I reached out my hand. "Fine, if you don't believe me, I'll show you my soul seal right now." I started to manifest the glowing mark on my palm. Chao Shuanglong's eyes narrowed, his body tensing as he prepared to see my power. Then, I pulled my hand back and tucked it into my pocket. "Actually, never mind," I said with a shrug. "I don't feel like it. There are too many eyes and ears here," I whispered, glancing around the busy street. "I'll show you in a more private spot. Follow me." Chao Shuanglong froze for a second. Then, a flash of pure joy crossed his face. This was perfect for him. I could see his body trembling slightly as he tried to suppress his excitement. As I walked ahead of him with a confident stride, I knew exactly what he was thinking. He was mocking me in his head. "Go ahead, kid. Walk straight to the underworld. You can show off to the ghosts once I'm done with you." Asterisk. I led him toward my neighborhood. It was an old residential area, crumbling and gray. Right next to it sat an abandoned construction site, a skeleton of a building that had been stalled for 3 years. It was pitch black inside. People stayed away because of the rumors that the place was haunted, claiming they saw ghost fires drifting through the empty window frames at night. I wasn't afraid. I had played here constantly as a kid. I knew every cracked pillar and hidden corner. We stepped into the center of the derelict building. The air was thick with the sharp, unpleasant stench of damp moss and curing concrete. We were completely cut off from the noise of the city. "Here is fine," I said, stopping in the middle of the floor. "Good. Now, show me," Chao Shuanglong said. His voice was tight, bordering on impatient. He was ready to strike. He wanted to kill me at the exact moment I manifested my soul seal, to let me die at the peak of my pride. "Wait, how do I do it again?" I asked, looking at him like a confused student. "Just focus on the thought in your mind," he snapped. "It will manifest naturally." I tilted my head, acting surprised. "You even know how that works?" "Uncle, you're definitely not an ordinary person, are you?" He didn't bother hiding it anymore. A cold, jagged laugh escaped his throat. "I've killed 13 talented beast tamers so far, including you. That makes 14. I forced my face into a mask of pure terror. "Uncle, you've killed people?" "Yes, exactly. That's the look," he shouted, his face twisting into a manic grin. "They all make that face right before I end them. Terror. Despair. It's beautiful." His bloodshot erupted. His thin, unremarkable frame suddenly bulged with explosive muscle. The transformation was violent and sudden. You're a martial artist," I stammered, my voice shaking. "I have to say, you're the most pathetic beast tamer I've ever hunted," he sneered. "Why?" I trembled. "Why me? Anyone who can't be used by my Saint Clan must be eliminated," he replied coldly. "Saint Clan? What is that? What category of organization is it?" He stared at me, speechless for a moment before his rage boiled over. The Saint clan is the elite of humanity. We are the only hope for the human race. But my teachers never mentioned you, I said. A shallow brat like you wouldn't know. Even your teachers are likely ignorant. Tianqing Town is a tiny, backwater shithole. Your horizon is too low. Suddenly, I stopped shaking. A strange sense of satisfaction washed over me. I didn't know what this Saint clan was, but if they considered me a thorn in their side worth sending an assassin for, I must be doing something right. I guess you really can't be too talented. As the saying goes, the tallest tree catches the most wind. Chao Shuanglong saw my sudden change in attitude, and his lip twitched. 7 beast tamers awakened in this town this year. You're the weakest of the bunch. Don't get cocky. If it weren't for Su Qingshan, do you think I'd waste my time on you first? The reward for your head is the lowest. You're just a side job. A side job. My eyes turned cold. Men care about their reputation, and being called the weakest stung. Especially since Su Qingshan only had 1 rank 3 spirit beast. I had much more. I'm done wasting time, he growled. Go to hell. He lunged. It was a blur of speed as his fist aimed straight for my skull. I didn't flinch. A spatial rift tore open in front of me. Before my bald parrot, now the size of a large dog, could even fully emerge, it swung a massive claw. Crack. Fist met claw with a sickening thud. Chao Shuanglong was sent flying backward. He was a rank 3 martial artist, though. He flipped midair and landed gracefully on his feet. But when he looked down at his hand, his knuckles were a bloody mess. The bald parrot stepped out of the rift. It looked at him with that same arrogant, disdainful expression. It didn't just look down on him. It looked like it was pitying him. A rank 3 spirit beast? Chao Shuanglong screamed. He wasn't just afraid. He was confused. I had only awakened my seal 2 days ago. How could I already have a rank 3 beast? He felt a wave of genuine pressure coming from the bird. Those sharp, peerless eyes made him want to look away. Was it a peak rank 3, nearing rank 4? It had to be. A normal rank 3 beast wouldn't make a rank 3 martial artist feel this much dread. The parrot stood perfectly still, staring him down with its deep, somewhat idiotic eyes. But I knew the truth. My bird was using its intimidate skill. The clash had actually hurt its claw, and it was currently terrified. It was purely using its aura to bluff and keep the guy from attacking again. This guy was strong. My parrot might be rank 3, but it wasn't a combat specialist. I had underestimated the enemy. I looked at the bald blue cat in my arms. System, evolve the cat. Determining ownership. Success. Commencing evolution. The cat's eyes widened. A faint light enveloped it for a split second. Evolution successful. Cost, 1,000 credits. Result, rank 1 spirit beast. Talent, common. Strength, speed, and stamina boosted. Special skill, poisonous cat scratch. Bloodline, 1% grade B night demon cat. Chao Shuanglong's eyes nearly popped out of his head. He wasn't a beast tamer, but he knew the basics. He had just watched me evolve a beast right in front of him. And more importantly, how was I controlling a second beast? I was supposed to only have 1 soul seal. How? How are you doing this? He stammered. It was the second time he'd asked himself that. The world he knew was being shattered. Beast tamers were elites, sure, but they were supposed to be dependent on massive resources and long-term training. They needed powerful factions to provide evolution materials and formulas. But I had just done it in a heartbeat. He watched me, trembling, as he realized the monster he was actually facing. In my world, the rules of evolution simply didn't apply. It looked like evolution was the easiest thing in the world to me, but to Chao Shuanglong, it was a revelation. His eyes lit up with a greedy spark. He saw his big break. If he could capture me alive and bring me to the high-ranking members of the Saint clan, he'd be set for life. He wanted the secret of how I evolved beasts so effortlessly. Lin Yuan, he said, stepping toward me. Just come with me quietly. I promise you'll never worry about food or clothes again. With the Saint clan's resources, you'll become a legendary beast tamer. Maybe even a grandmaster. My bald husky let out a low, rumbling growl as Chao Shuanglong approached. He didn't care. He laughed, a harsh, grating sound. It's useless. That husky might be rank 3, but it's a weak one. It can't stop me. I'd rather not break your arms and legs, so just walk with me. I didn't even look at him. I turned my focus back to the system. Continue evolution. A slightly stronger light enveloped the bald blue cat. Chao Shuanglong froze. His face went stiff. No way again. It just evolved. The system chimed in my head. Evolution successful. Cost, 10,000 credits. Result, rank 2 spirit beast. Talent, F grade. Strength, speed, and stamina significantly boosted. Special skill, poisonous cat scratch. Bloodline, 1% grade B night demon cat, asterisk. From a normal animal to rank 1 wasn't a huge physical jump, but the leap from rank 1 to rank 2 was massive. Chao Shuanglong watched, speechless, as the bald cat grew right before his eyes. In just a few minutes, it had doubled in size, stretching half a meter long. Its fur took on a sharp luster, and its aura intensified. Rank 2, he whispered. How is this possible? That's the third time. Is evolution really this simple? He watched the cat, then looked at me. He saw the expression on my face and realized I wasn't done. The cat began to glow again, but this time the light was blinding. It was the unmistakable sign of a beast breaking through to rank 3. That was the breaking point. Chao Shuanglong realized he had played his hand poorly. I had led him here to kill him. If that cat reached rank 3 to join the husky, he was dead meat. He turned on his heel, planning to flee while I was distracted by the evolution. He didn't get far. Standing a few meters behind him was a 1-meter-tall bald parrot. Chao Shuanglong blinked, looking between the bald husky, the bald cat, and the bald parrot. It felt like a fever dream. It was absurd. But dream or not, he knew he had to get out. I had shown him too many secrets. I wasn't planning on letting him leave this forest alive. He was fast. In seconds, he had bolted 100 meters away. Stop him, I commanded. The bald parrot took flight. It was a blur of motion, easily overtaking him. Chao Shuanglong cursed. He knew flying beasts were fast, but he didn't want to fight. He needed to tell the Saint clan that I was a variable they hadn't accounted for. Idiot. Big idiot, the parrot shrieked, circling over his head. Trash. The Saint clan is garbage. Pure garbage. Chao Shuanglong sneered. He was a rank 3 martial artist. Did I really think some petty insults would make him lose his cool? A warrior's heart was supposed to be like a rock. Chao Shuanglong is a big waste. Chao Shuanglong is tiny. Chao Shuanglong is a loser. Suddenly, a surge of uncontrollable rage boiled up in his chest. The parrot's voice wasn't just loud. It was like a needle boring into his brain. It was a mental attack, pure and overwhelming. He couldn't block it out. His eyes turned bloodshot. You're dead, he roared. He forgot about escaping. He poured all his fury into his fists and lunged at the bird. The parrot was too quick, darting away with a flick of its wings. Chao Shuanglong couldn't fly, but his rank 3 strength let him leap dozens of meters into the air, desperately trying to swat the bird down. Help! Help! The parrot cried, leading him straight toward the husky. I watched with a cold smile. The parrot's taunt skill was no joke. Unless someone had a mental strength higher than a rank 2 soul master, they were going to lose their mind. Chao Shuanglong was just a brawler. A meathead. The husky let out another intimidating roar as he approached, but the parrot's taunt was stronger. Chao Shuanglong didn't flinch. He swung a massive fist. Stop growling and bite him. I barked. The husky lunged, its jaws snapping shut. Chao Shuanglong was a beast of a man, though. He took the hit, slamming a fist into the husky's ribs so hard the dog coughed up blood. But the price was high. The husky's teeth tore a massive, bloody hole through his shoulder. He tried to finish the dog off, but the parrot dived in, its claws tearing at his back to create a distraction. Even against 2 rank 3 beasts, he held his ground. He was a mid-stage rank 3 martial artist, the ceiling of power in a place like Tianqing Town. He fought like a demon, refusing to fall. I was actually impressed. This was the true power of a martial artist. But I had one more card to play. Asterisk ding. Evolution successful. Cost, 100,000 credits. A terrifying aura exploded from the blue cat. Chao Shuanglong staggered, spitting out a mouthful of blood. No, he gasped. A third one? How is this possible? The system confirmed the stats. The bald cat was now rank 3. Its power was balanced, stronger than the husky in combat, and nearly as fast as the parrot. Its combat power hit 1,598. For comparison, Yiqinghua's B-grade Flame Wolf was only around 1,900, and that was a high-tier beast. I looked at the bleeding, enraged man in front of me. The hunt was over. The blue cat's combat power had dipped slightly due to the evolution, but I was more than satisfied. Its current aptitude was only grade 1, yet it was already a beast. It wasn't as massive as the husky, but it stretched over 3 meters long and stood 5 feet high. Its fur was thick, smooth, and had a beautiful luster, except for its head. That patch was still skin smooth and hairless. I realized then that baldness was a stubborn disease. I made a mental note to take better care of my own hair from now on. I gave the cat a mental command, and it pounced on Chao Shuanglong. The man's scalp went numb with fear, but he still snarled at me with venom in his voice. "You might be a genius at evolution," he spat, "but how long can your mental strength hold out?" Mental strength? I blinked. What did that have to do with anything? Don't try to fool me, he yelled, dodging a swipe from the cat. I'm not a beast tamer, but I know how it works. Controlling beasts drains your mind. Releasing 3-rank 3 beasts at once is a suicide mission. Just wait. The backlash will turn you into a vegetable. I looked at him, genuinely confused. Did controlling beasts actually require mental energy? For me, it felt as natural as breathing. Chao Shuanglong froze, seeing my blank expression. It doesn't. In this world, it definitely did. Even a standard rank 3 beast tamer wouldn't dare summon 3 beasts at once. One slip in concentration, and the beast's consciousness would snap back, leaving the master dazed or brain dead. Plus, if the master's energy ran out, the beasts had to return to their spirit space. If they stayed out too long, the beast's seal would fade, and the tamer would lose control entirely. But I felt fine. I felt great. To Chao Shuanglong, I wasn't just a threat anymore. I was a monster. A complete, terrifying freak of nature. He tried to fight back, but holding off the parrot and the husky was already his limit. With the blue cat in the mix, he stood no chance. Within seconds, the cat's claws tore through his defenses. It was brutal. The cat's talons could shred reinforced concrete walls. Chao Shuanglong was just flesh and blood. His martial arts energy gave him strength, but it didn't turn his skin into steel. The struggle ended in minutes. The bald cat sat back, licking the blood off its paws with a look of pure enjoyment. It seemed to love the taste. Chao Shuanglong lay on the ground, motionless. The dust around his nose didn't move. He was dead. I stood there, staring at his body. This was the first time I had ever killed someone. Even though I hadn't used my own hands, seeing a living person turn into a corpse right in front of me was a massive shock. Back on Earth, I was just a normal student. Killing was something that happened in movies, not in my backyard. Then, a practical thought hit me. What do I do with the body? If a scavenger found him in this abandoned building, I'd be in deep trouble with the law. I looked at the husky. It seemed to read my mind and shook its head violently. It wasn't going to eat him. Absolutely not. Coward, I muttered. It was a spirit beast now, but it was still as timid as a house dog. There's no real difference between a spirit beast and a wild monster except for who they follow. Wild monsters eat meat. Why couldn't mine? I turned to the parrot. It flapped its wings and shrieked. Stinks. It stinks. Finally, I looked at the blue cat. Its eyes lit up with a chilling, predatory glint. I remembered then, cats are natural carnivores. You did well, I said quietly. His body is your reward. The cat didn't hesitate. It lunged at the corpse, tearing through the clothes to get to the meat. As it shredded the fabric, a small bundle rolled out from Chao Shuanglong's pockets. I picked it up and realized it was a beast skin scroll. My heart skipped a beat. These scrolls were used to record high-level techniques or weapon blueprints because they lasted forever. I unrolled it. The first few words made my blood pump. Basic punching technique. It sounded simple, but I knew better. This was the foundation every martial artist needed, usually only available to students in elite academies who earned enough credits. On the black market, a manual like this would cost a fortune. For a commoner like me, it was a priceless treasure. In a small place like Tianqing Town, almost nobody had access to this. I had hit the jackpot. By the time I finished reading, the cat had finished its meal. It let out a soft purr and suddenly began to shrink. I watched in awe as the 3-meter-long predator transformed back into a small, palm-sized kitten. The husky and parrot were stuck being giants, meaning they had to stay in the spirit space when we were in public. But this cat? I could carry it around, and everyone would think it was just a pet. It was the perfect hidden trump card. If only you weren't so ugly, I whispered, looking at its bald head. But my joy was short-lived. I had to think about the consequences. How many people from the Saint race were here? Chao Shuanglong was dead, but his disappearance wouldn't go unnoticed. Would they send someone even stronger next time? Meanwhile, across town in a luxury entertainment club, the atmosphere was heavy. This club belonged to the Chao family, and right now, the most powerful men in town were gathered in a private booth. Even the manager was trembling, serving drinks with his head bowed to the floor. Shuanglong is missing, someone said. He left this morning and hasn't answered his phone since. The head of the Chao family looked unbothered. He leaned back, sipping his wine. Don't worry. In Tianqing town, the only people who could even touch my brother are the garrison captain or the chief of the law enforcement division. He's probably just busy. Next to him, his son Chao Gang was busy pouring wine for the guests. He didn't know exactly who these men were, but he knew they were elites from the Saint race. They hadn't come here for a vacation. They were here to hunt down the town's rising geniuses. A red-haired young man from the Saint race laughed, his voice dripping with disdain. This Tianqing town really is a tiny place. To think a mere mid-stage rank 3 could act like he owns the sky here. The head of the Chao family didn't take offense. Instead, he offered a fawning smile. You're right, of course. Tianqing town is just one of the 13 small towns under Yuehua City's jurisdiction. It's a backwater, a place where even the birds don't bother to stop. Naturally, it's weak. Xiaoran, did you already forget my teachings? A middle-aged man with a deep, cold aura spoke up. His voice was like ice cutting through the room. Xiaoran immediately stiffened, his arrogant posture collapsing. It was clear he feared this man. Of course not, uncle. I haven't forgotten. No matter where we are or what the time, we must never let our guard down. You have stepped into rank 3, the older man continued, but a rank 3 warrior is far from invincible. I understand, Xiaoran replied quickly. But internally, he sneered. A rank 3 warrior held a position of respect even in a major place like Yuehua City. In a pebble-sized dump like Tianqing town, how could he possibly fail? He shifted the subject. By the way, uncle, that beast-taming genius from the Su family you mentioned earlier, where does she live? The middle-aged man glanced at his nephew, knowing exactly what he was thinking. Xiaoran was a lecher. If it weren't for his decent strength, he would have been beaten to death years ago for his habits. He had a history of breaking into homes and causing trouble for young women. If the Saint race hadn't stepped into cover for him, he'd be on death row by now. I'm warning you, the man said firmly. Do not set your sights on Su Qingqing. The Su family is not an ordinary clan. Xiaoran nodded, smiling. I get it. The Su family is tough, but the mountains are high and the emperor is far away, right? Their main power isn't here to protect her. Besides, isn't our mission this time to kill her anyway? Before she dies, I thought maybe. The older man frowned, but didn't stop him. The Saint race actually wanted to recruit the Su family. Even if the family itself refused, bringing a top-tier talent like Su Qingqing into their fold would be a massive win. Standard methods probably wouldn't work on someone as proud as her. Maybe letting Xiaoran break her pride and dignity first would make her easier to handle. Once a genius loses their sense of self-worth, they become much easier to control. The members of the Chao family stayed silent, watching the exchange. They were internally shaken. The Saint race was truly bold, daring to plot against the Su family. In Yuehua City, the Su family was what the Chao family was to this town, local royalty. But the gap in scale was massive. Su Qingqing's mother was a legendary beast tamer who had gone missing, and her father was a martial grandmaster. A rank 6 powerhouse. An invincible existence. The head of the Chao family cleared his throat, trying to change the subject. So, about that matter, how is it progressing? Which matter? The middle-aged man asked. Joining the Yuehua City branch board of the Saint race, the Chao patriarch said with a hopeful smile. Oh, it's in progress, the man replied dismissively. There are some complications. The audit requirements for joining the board are strict, and the threshold gets higher every year. The Chow Patriarch's expression flickered for a second before he smoothed it over. I understand. We will prepare more resources to donate to the Saint Race's great cause. We want to do our part. As long as you understand, the man said. He stood up and led his people out of the club. As soon as they were gone, the smile on the Chow Patriarch's face vanished, replaced by a mask of cold fury. Are they just vampires? Chow Gang whispered, his voice trembling with resentment. Our family has already given them so much. Shut up, his father hissed. He waited a few heartbeats, checking the shadows, before whispering back. The Saint Race has eyes and ears everywhere. Never speak ill of them. Meanwhile, I was back at the bird and flower market. I had been wandering the stalls for 2 days now, but ever since I found my bald pets, I hadn't seen anything interesting. Most of what was on sale were just common beasts or low-quality hybrids with barely 1% spiritual bloodline. I had over 600,000 credits left. It sounded like a lot, but it was only enough to evolve about 6 rank 3 spiritual beasts. I wanted to find something special, like my husky or the cat, beasts that at least carried B-grade talent hidden under a rough exterior. I hadn't seen Su Qingqing lately, but Lu Huan kept finding me to drag me out for food. Every single time, we ended up at Old Gua's noodle shop. I didn't mind. Free food is free food. Today, Lu Huan brought me some documents on how to strip a beast seal. She was still trying to convince me to give up on my bald parrot and hatch a real spiritual beast egg instead. You only have 1 seal slot right now, she said, looking at me with genuine concern. The talent of your beast is everything. In some ways, a beast's talent grade is harder to improve than its actual rank. Is it? I asked. Is it really that hard? I honestly didn't feel that way. To me, it felt pretty easy. As long as I had the money, I could evolve a beast into A-grade or even S-grade talent in minutes. Lu Huan looked at me like I was a hopeless case. She reached over and pinched my cheek. You're too cute for your own good, Lin Yuan. Listen to me. Evolutionists can give you plans to raise a beast's rank, but no one has ever found a definitive way to raise a beast's innate talent grade. I had a sudden realization. So that was why spiritual beast eggs with higher talent grades cost 10 times more, or even 100 times more, than the common ones. Usually, the talent a beast is born with is the talent it has for life. Fine, I'll take these and look them over, I said with a satisfied smile. But I still think my bald parrot is pretty good. Lu Huan sighed, her eyes full of pity. I knew what she was thinking. This kid has never seen a high-quality beast in his life. I kept my mouth shut. They had seen my parrot insult them, but they didn't realize that the bird hadn't even gotten serious yet. Its 100% hatred attraction skill was no joke. Chao Shuanglong was a living, well, dead, example of that. Even a mid-stage rank 3 warrior would lose his mind and turn into a raving lunatic under that bird's influence. By the way, Xiaofan, Lu Huan asked, using her nickname for me, have you seen any strange people around your neighborhood lately? My mind immediately jumped to Chao Shuanglong. Strange people? Lu Huan was an ordinary person. She shouldn't know anything about the Saint Race. Nothing specific, she said. Just asking. Things haven't felt very peaceful lately. You haven't seen anyone, right? Nope. Haven't seen a soul, I replied. I said it way too fast. I saw the flicker of surprise in her eyes. I was worried about the murder coming to light. Even if the guy I killed was a piece of trash, the law was still the law. My eyes darted away, and I knew I had messed up the lie. Old Gua, who was bringing over our noodles, caught the exchange. He looked at Lu Huan, his expression turning grave. They could both tell I was lying. They probably thought I had been bullied or threatened and was too scared to speak up. Xiaofan, Old Gua said gently. If something is wrong, just tell us. Don't keep it inside. Things are getting dangerous out there. If you tell us, maybe we can figure something out together. I waved my hands frantically. I really haven't seen anything. Nothing at all. I couldn't tell them. If Sister Huan and Old Gua knew I had killed someone, even if they didn't turn me into the law enforcement division, they'd probably be terrified of me. Normal people don't want to hang out with a killer. Their expressions only grew heavier. The more I denied it, the more worried they became. They looked at my weak pet and probably assumed I was being targeted or intimidated by the Saint Race. They seemed to be making a silent pact right then and there. They had to find a way to keep me from falling into the wrong hands. But they knew my personality. If I wasn't talking, they couldn't force it. For now, they let it drop, but the tension in the air didn't go away. I felt guilty, so I kept my head down and shoveled the noodles into my mouth, gulping down the broth until the bowl was empty. Once we finished, Lu Huan offered to drive me home. The whole way there, she kept fishing for information, dropping hints and telling me to report anything strange immediately. I just nodded gloomily, keeping my mouth shut. When we pulled up to my apartment complex, I hopped out of the car and ran straight into Su Qingchen. She was just heading out. I froze. I didn't expect her to be back so soon, let alone leaving again immediately. She was always so busy. Then again, she was young and beautiful. I imagined there was a long line of guys waiting to take her out. I wondered why she wasn't with that guy from upstairs. Maybe they were keeping it a secret to avoid gossip. In that moment, my mind raced through a dozen different scenarios of their secret romance. Su Qingchen stared at me, then shifted her gaze to Lu Huan, who was still sitting in the car. Lu Huan looked surprised to see her too. The two women locked eyes. Neither looked away. There was a strange, heavy tension in the air, something complex and unspoken passing between them. Lu Huan stepped out of the car. Now both of them were staring at me. I felt incredibly awkward, like I was caught in the middle of something I needed to explain. Should I tell Su Qingchen why I was in Lu Huan's car? Should I tell Lu Huan why I lived in the same building as Su Qingchen? I felt the urge to explain that Lu Huan was just a neighborhood sister I grew up with, and Su Qingchen was just a neighbor. Wait, why did I feel like I owed anyone an explanation? The silence was deafening. I gave a dry laugh and turned to Su Qingchen. Let me introduce you. This is Sister Huan. She used to live in this complex. Su Qingchen nodded but kept her eyes on me, waiting for more. I felt a headache coming on. Fine. You want details? I'll give you details. This is Lu Huan, 23 years old. Works at the trading center. 5'7", 48 kilograms. Measurements are 32C, 24, 36. Lu Huan's eyes nearly popped out of her head. She looked down at her own body, then back at me. When had I measured her? Why was I broadcasting her private stats to a stranger? Su Qingchen's expression turned to one of pure disdain. She had already experienced my eye measurement talent before. She clearly thought I was a total creep. Lu Huan glared at me, her anger simmering. I coughed awkwardly and turned back to Lu Huan to introduce Su Qingchen. Sister Huan, this is my classmate from Tianqing High, Su Qingchen. She's the school belle. Lu Huan didn't say a word. She just stared at me, waiting for the rest. My head throbbed. Why were they doing this to me? Golden ratio, I muttered. Measurements are 38D, 23, 38. Lu Huan's jaw dropped. She stared at Su Qingchen's chest in total disbelief. 38D? That was massive. How could I tell just by looking? Even as a woman, she couldn't have guessed that accurately through clothes. Unless, no, that was impossible. Su Qingchen's face went from bright red to deathly pale. She was horrified. My numbers were dead accurate. How could I know? Maybe a seasoned pervert could guess a waist or hip measurement, but her bust size? Not even her mother knew her exact measurements. Both women stared at me with burning intensity. I let out another weak, forced laugh. Want to come up to my place and sit for a bit? No, they both snapped at the same time. Su Qingchen turned on her heel and stormed into the building. Lu Huan slammed her car door, floored the gas, and tore away. I stood there alone, baffled. Did they have some kind of history? Lu Huan graduated years ago, and Su Qingchen only transferred here 2 years back. They shouldn't even know each other. I shrugged it off. Maybe they just didn't like each other's vibe. Lu Huan drove like a maniac on the way out, leaning on her horn and forcing other cars off the road. She was fuming, though she couldn't quite put a finger on why. She used to think I was just a clueless, straight-edged kid. Now, she realized she had seriously underestimated me. Inside the building, Su Qingchen slammed her apartment door and leaned against it, her heart racing with irritation. She heard me walking upstairs. I didn't stop at her door. I didn't try to explain. I just unlocked my door and went inside. She felt a surge of bitterness. He was getting out of a car with a beautiful older woman and didn't even care what it looked like. Maybe he had a thing for older women. First a bald parrot, now this. The guy was clearly unstable. I didn't care about any of that. I was back in my room, staring at the basic boxing manual I had acquired. My face lit up with excitement. The path of a true martial artist was finally opening for me. Beast tamers were powerful, sure. They didn't have to fight their own battles. But they had a fatal flaw. They were physically weak. If an enemy bypassed their beast, they were finished. I wasn't going to let that be me. Next door, an elderly woman stood respectfully beside Su Qingchen. Su Qingchen was flipping through an expensive Spirit Beast illustrated guide, a rare book compiled by grandmasters that only circulated among the elite. She was obsessed with evolution knowledge. If she couldn't master that, she'd never be a top-tier tamer. The old woman, Nanny Zhang, sighed. Miss, have you made up your mind? Will you return to Yuehua City with me? Su Qingchen hesitated, closing the book. I saw that young man, Lin Yuan, Nanny Zhang continued. He clearly won't amount to much. I will personally speak to the master and ask him to cancel this childhood betrothal. You shouldn't be tied to him. Su Qingchen remained silent. Don't worry, Nanny Zhang said softly. The master loves you. He won't force you to marry a commoner. Besides, young Master Long Hao in Yuehua City is still devoted to you. He was devastated when you rejected him last time. A flash of disdain crossed Su Qingchen's face at the mention of Long Hao. He was the genius of the Dragon God Hall, a legendary dragon rider who had bonded with a dragon hatchling before he was even 20. But she didn't respect him. He had only achieved that because of his family's massive resources. If he had found a dragon in the wilderness on his own, she might have admired him. Her family only pushed the match because the Dragon God Hall promised a dragon egg as a dowry. Nanny Zhang, you raised me, Su Qingchen said. Do you really think I could accept someone as arrogant and overbearing as Long Hao? Nanny Zhang sighed and shook her head. She knew the girl's temperament. But in her mind, even an arrogant genius like Long Hao was 1,000 times better than a mediocre boy like Lin Yuan. Su Qingchen smiled suddenly. 1,000 times better? I wouldn't be so sure about that. Nanny Zhang was stunned. To anyone with eyes, the gap was a canyon. One was a dragon rider from a legendary hall. The other was the son of a self-taught martial artist from a common family. Even in 10 lifetimes, a boy like Lin Yuan shouldn't be able to catch up. Nanny Zhang sighed when she saw Su Qingchen wouldn't budge. She knew my stubbornness, but she was truly worried. There were rumors that the evil sect, a group that called themselves the Saints, had entered Tianqing town. They claimed to be saviors of humanity, but in reality, they were kidnappers. They forced geniuses to join them. If you refused, they killed you. Su Qingchen's face went pale. Her first thought wasn't for her own safety. It was for me. She was terrified that I was in danger. Nanny Zhang couldn't understand it. We lived across from each other, but we barely spoke. Why did she care so much about a commoner like me? But Su Qingchen didn't explain. She just told Nanny Zhang she had things under control and started planning how to keep me safe. Meanwhile, I was back at my place, completely unaware of the shadow looming over the town. I sneezed suddenly. Someone must have been talking about me. I ignored it and focused on the basic boxing manual I'd acquired. It had 2 parts, physical combat routines and a breathing technique to pull energy into the body. In this world, most students bought Beast Blood or Spirit Stones to boost their stats before the big exams. Beast Blood was cheaper, but cheap was relative. 1 milliliter of level 1 blood cost 100 credits. My friend Chenwei's dad had been buying it for him for months. As I studied the manual, I realized the core of martial arts was simple. If your strength and speed were high enough, even a basic punch could be devastating. I needed to refine my body, but doing it naturally was too slow. I needed Beast Blood. I thought of Chenwei. His dad was a former street tough turned successful contractor. They were actually quite wealthy, though Chenwei never bragged about it. I headed over to his place in the high-end district. It was a world away from my cramped apartment. When I arrived, his parents treated me like royalty. They laid out a massive feast, better than anything they'd served me before. Chenwei thought they were overdoing it, but I knew why they were doing it. They wanted me to look after their son. I looked them in the eye and promised that as long as I was able, I'd have Chenwei's back. I got straight to the point. I told them I wanted to buy Beast Blood. Chenwei was confused. He thought I should be buying spirit food for my parrot. I explained that a strong body helps support a strong mind, and a strong mind makes for a better beast tamer. That was a half-truth. I didn't actually need mental strength to control my beasts thanks to my system, but I wanted to be a martial arts powerhouse in secret. Most beast tamers were glass cannons, all magic and no muscle. I wanted to be the guy who could outsummon a mage and outpunch a fighter. That was the path to being invincible. Chen Wei's father warned me that it wouldn't be cheap. Even with his connections to local hunters, I'd be paying 80 credits per milliliter. To see real results, you needed liters of the stuff. He told me he'd spent 2 million credits just to get Chen Wei's vitality to a decent level. Then, he did something unexpected. He offered me 1,000 milliliters of beast blood they had in storage. That was 100,000 credits worth of resources just handed to me. I turned it down immediately. I told him to save it for Chen Wei's future and just asked for the hunter's contact info instead. After I left, Chen Wei's father looked disappointed. He told his son that circles change. Right now, we were best friends, but in 10 years, if I became a legendary beast tamer and Chen Wei stayed a mediocre martial artist, that friendship might fade. He wanted to buy my loyalty while he still could. He knew the world was cruel, even if we didn't. Old Kai's warning to his son was cold. He told Chen Wei that friendships fade when people move into different circles. He worried that in 10 years, I'd be a legend while Chen Wei stayed mediocre, and I'd forget all about my childhood friend. Chen Wei looked stunned. He couldn't wrap his head around that kind of cynicism. He pouted, stubborn as ever, and told his father I wasn't that kind of person. He even joked that maybe he'd become a legendary martial artist and end up protecting me instead. Old Kai didn't argue. He knew words were useless. We were both just too young to understand how the world worked. I didn't stick around for the lecture. I added the hunter on WeChat. Being a hunter was dangerous, but it offered freedom. You weren't tied down to any faction. You were your own boss. The harder you worked, the more you earned. Plenty of strong martial artists chose this path, and the Hunters Guild actually had more branches than the official trading centers. Even a small place like Tianqing Town had a guild office. I messaged the hunter to ask about the price of beast blood. He sent over a price list immediately. Level 1 blood, 85 credits per milliliter. Level 2, 850 credits. Level 3, 8,500 credits. Level 4, 85,000 credits. The list stopped at level 4. It seemed even professional hunters struggled to get anything higher. The prices were staggering. 85,000 credits for a single milliliter? That's barely the size of a fingernail. He told me he was giving me a 15% discount because I was a beast tamer. Otherwise, he'd charge at least 90 per milliliter for the basic stuff. I did the math. To use beast blood properly, you had to soak in it. You'd mix it into a tub of water to maximize skin contact. Usually, you needed 1 milliliter of blood for every liter of water. A 100-liter tub meant 100 milliliters of blood. That was 8,500 credits for a single bath. If you had great talent, you'd need 10 baths to increase your vitality by a tiny fraction. If you were average, you'd need 30. This wasn't a bath, it was a money pit. To get my vitality to a decent level, I need to spend hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. The Chen family really had spent a fortune on Chen Wei. I couldn't afford to literally wash my money away. I needed that cash for beast evolutions. I asked the hunter if there was a way to get the blood for free. Sure, he replied with a laugh. Go kill the beast yourself. He pointed out that as a new beast tamer, I probably only had a level 1 beast, which wouldn't be strong enough to hunt. I ignored the jab and asked where the best hunting grounds were. He told me the outskirts of town were crawling with them due to the recent beast tide. The city guard had even posted bounties. I looked it up. It was a joint operation between the guard and the Bureau of Justice. They were desperate for hunters to thin out the herds. The rewards were high. 1,000 credits for a level 1 beast, 10,000 for level 2, and 100,000 for level 3. Plus, you got to keep whatever materials you harvested from the carcass. There was a catch. To claim the bounty, I had to be a registered bounty hunter. In the old days, hunters were a lawless bunch, but the Hunters Guild had turned it into a regulated profession. If you hunted without a license now, you were considered an illegal operator and could be thrown in jail. I headed to the Hunters Guild building in the city center. It was an old, weathered structure, nowhere near as grand as the trading center. It was also quiet. Not many locals were brave enough to be hunters, though the recent crisis had brought in a few outsiders. A girl in her early 20s sat at the reception desk wearing a traditional qipao. She looked bored, leaning back with her eyes half closed. I cleared my throat to get her attention. She looked up, blinking. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm here to register as a bounty hunter," I said. She stared at me, her eyes sweeping up and down my frame. She looked skeptical. "You? A bounty hunter?" I nodded. She stood up, looking more amused than impressed. "Listen, kid. I know being a hunter sounds cool and flashy, but it's dangerous. Why don't you go home and finish your homework instead?" I frowned. Did I really look that young? "I'm serious. I need that registration." I know, she said, reaching over to pinch my cheek. "Every boy has a dream. Come back when you're grown up, and Big Sister will help you sign up, okay?" My face went stiff. Why did everyone feel the need to touch my face? I wasn't a fan of the little kid treatment, even if she was pretty. I noticed she was actually a level 2 martial artist. Impressive for a 24-year-old receptionist. This guild had high standards. If I wanted her to take me seriously, I had to show her something. I tapped into my mental space, and a flash of blue light hit the room. My bald parrot spiraled out of the rift, flapping its wings. As soon as it landed, the bird shrieked at the top of its lungs. "Little man. Hey, pretty lady. Spend the night with Grandpa. Spend the night with Grandpa." The girl's face went dark. She looked at me with an expression that asked, "Is this what you're teaching your bird?" I shook my head quickly, feeling the heat rise in my neck. He's a bit unhinged. He just says things." She ignored the bird's insults and leaned in to inspect it. The parrot looked ridiculous. Its feathers were glossy and healthy everywhere except for its head, which was completely bald and wrinkled. It was an ugly sight. "A level 3 beast?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Yeah," I replied. A look of pure shock crossed her face. A level 3 beast tamer at my age was unheard of in Tianqing Town. She squinted at the parrot again. "It looks strange. Did you evolve this from a common animal?" "Good eye," I said, giving her a thumbs up. She rolled her eyes. It didn't take a genius to see it. Anyone who'd seen a real spirit beast could tell this thing started as a regular pet. But the fact that I had evolved a common bird all the way to level 3 was a rare feat. "Well," she said, her eyes now sparkling with interest, "a level 3 beast definitely qualifies you. Let's get you registered." Maybe evolving a common animal was easier. It was possible. But usually, no beast tamer would waste their precious soul seals on a common beast. Evolution might be simpler, but the strength was lower and the potential was limited. This bald parrot had likely hit its ceiling. There probably wasn't even an evolution path left for it. "Wait a moment," the girl said, her mind clearly racing as she tapped away at her computer. She asked for my name, age, and a few other details. She even took my photo. A few minutes later, she looked up and smiled. "All set, Lin Yuan. From this moment on, you are an officially certified bounty hunter of the Star Moon Federation. Your hunter ID is valid across the entire Federation." I stared at her, stunned. "That's it. It's done." "Yes," she replied with a giggle. It happened so fast I didn't know how to react. It wasn't what I expected at all. How could a receptionist just hand out hunter IDs like candy? She seemed to read the confusion on my face. She stood up and stepped out from behind the counter. She was wearing a red cheongsam embroidered with pale yellow patterns. Up close, the fabric looked incredibly expensive. She had a refined air about her, not as explosive as Su Qingcheng, but the kind of beauty that grew on you the longer you looked. "Lin Yuan, let me introduce myself," she said. "I am Inya, the president of the Bounty Hunter Guild's Tianqing Town branch." "The president?" I was shocked. "Then why are you working the front desk?" Inya gave me an embarrassed smile. "Business is slow in Tianqing Town. Including me, there are only 3 staff members. The other 2 are away getting married this week, so I'm filling in." I hissed through my teeth. Man, this place was pathetic. Seeing my pitying look, Inya laughed bitterly. "I can't help it. Tianqing Town is in the middle of nowhere. Very few people register as hunters here, so headquarters won't give us more staff." I shrugged. It didn't matter to me as long as the ID was real, right? "I want to take the disaster relief bounty." Inya nodded. She had guessed as much. A few hunters had been trickling into town specifically for that mission. "I can do that. But I have to remind you, Taking a mission is voluntary. If a hunter dies in the line of duty, the guild pays nothing. No compensation. I know, I said firmly. Seeing I wouldn't budge, Inya processed the paperwork. I walked out of the guild and headed straight for the city walls. Behind me, Inya sighed. What a waste. He shouldn't have wasted a slot on a common beast just to save money. Reaching level 3 is impressive, but that's definitely his limit. I didn't hear her. I was busy looking at the Bounty Hunter app, and you had helped me download. I was automatically pulled into a group chat. Oh, a newcomer. Are you a GG or an MM? Someone messaged immediately. I stared at the screen. GG or MM? Who still used slang from 20 years ago? This guy had to be old. What is this group for? I typed back. Teaming up, the person replied. You took the Tianqing disaster bounty, right? You can't go out there alone. This group is for finding teammates. A temporary squad increases your survival chances. That made sense. I had wondered if hunters were all lone wolves, but the wilderness was too dangerous for that. Teaming up was the only way to survive. What's your class? The guy asked. His username was ugly but confident, and he loved to talk. Our team already has 3 people, 2 warriors and 1 soul master. We just need 1 more powerhouse to head out. I'm a beast tamer, I replied. The chat went dead. The constant stream of messages stopped for a few seconds. Then, the screen exploded. Everyone wanted me. Hey, everyone, ugly but confident yelled in the chat. I contacted this brother first. There's an order to these things. His voice was instantly drowned out by a sea of messages. People started flexing their team stats. Some squads were all level 2 warriors. One even had a level 3 warrior. Even other beast tamers were trying to recruit me. Then, one message silenced the rest. 2 level 3 warriors. 1 level 2 soul master. The chat went cold. 2 level 3 warriors were top-tier powerhouses in a place like Tianqing Town. And a level 2 soul master? They were even rarer than warriors. Their mental strength was incredibly hard to level up. A team like that could crush any other squad in the group. Even I was impressed. Okay, I'm in. The meeting point was the Xianjiang Hotel. I put on a cloak to hide my face. I didn't know these people, and discretion was survival. Only the guild headquarters knew a hunter's true identity, and they guarded that secret with their lives. If they ever leaked info, the whole system would collapse. When I reached the hotel, I saw they were staying in the penthouse suite. I glanced at the price list in the lobby. 8,800 credits a night. I whistled. Hunters were loaded. One guy had dropped 800,000 on my snake cub earlier, and now these guys were living in luxury. Meanwhile, beast tamers seemed broke. Even Yi Qinghua, a level 3 beast tamer, acted like 100,000 credits was a fortune. Maybe I picked the wrong career. Miles away, on the battlefield outside town, Yi Qinghua suddenly felt her nose itch. Was it the smoke? Or was someone talking about her? Beside her, the flame demon wolf had just torn apart 2 level 3 beasts. She stood there like a goddess of war. The captain of the guard watched her with pure awe, amazed at the power of a beast tamer. The beast fought on the front lines while the tamer stayed safe in the back, directing the battle with a clarity no wild animal could match. Old Lin watched from a distance, his eyes full of admiration. He looked at Yi Qinghua, who wasn't much older than his own son, and felt a wave of emotion. She was a savior. Old Zhang poked him in the arm, grinning. What are you staring at? Jealous? Bullshit, Old Lin spat, shaking his head. I'm too old for that. What's the use of being jealous now? He sighed, looking at the battlefield. I was just thinking, forget it. It doesn't matter. Old Zhang nudged him. You think the pay for a beast tamer is high? I don't know for sure, Old Zhang replied, rubbing his chin. But it's definitely more than we make. I heard just getting one of them to show up costs at least 100,000 credits. 100,000. Old Lin's eyes widened. That was a whole year's salary for him in a single session. Everyone envied beast tamers. They lived in a different world. Speaking of which, I still don't know how my son did on his exams. His mother and I have been stuck on the front lines. I haven't heard a word about him. The captain of the guard walked over, laughing heartily. Once we wipe out this beast tide, we'll all go back together. Old Lin nodded firmly. Yeah, together. Everyone there had parents and children waiting for them. They fought to keep Tianqing Town safe because that was the only way to keep their families safe. Nobody wanted to be a hero. They just wanted to go home. Meanwhile, I followed the waiter to a room in the hotel. Before I could even knock, the door swung open. A young man stood there. He was handsome. So handsome, he almost looked feminine. He didn't seem surprised by my black cloak. People were cautious these days. "Let me introduce myself," he said with a grin. "I'm ugly and confident. The guy you were chatting with." I stared at him. Ugly? Where? This guy was clearly using a fake handle to play the underdog. "Come in," he said, pulling me inside. "Let's get to know each other and talk about the job." The moment his hand touched my arm, I saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes. He was checking my frame. I could tell what he was thinking. Asterisk, this guy's bones feel young. Too young. Asterisk. A beast tamer this age usually meant low rank. He probably figured I was a rank 1. Useful, but not impressive for their team. Still, I was already there, so he didn't kick me out. Inside the suite, 2 girls were waiting. They were both stunning, the kind of girls you rarely saw in a backwater place like Tianqing Town. They had the aura of the big city. Again, officially, the guy said, holding out a hand. "I'm Guo Chao. I'm a second-year student from the Manhwa City Martial Arts Academy." I was stunned. A second-year student, and already a rank 3 martial artist? The academy students were monsters. Guo Chao saw my expression and smirked. "Don't be fooled. I'm considered a genius even there. I'm in the top 10 of my year." "Top 10? In your dreams," one of the girls snapped. She was busy stuffing her face with snacks, yet she stayed incredibly lean. I could feel a terrifying amount of energy coiled inside her small frame. Guo Chao rolled his eyes. "That's Lu Yu, also a second year. She's actually ranked 10th. I blinked. A girl was stronger than him? Only because I wasn't prepared during the last challenge, Guo Chao grumbled. If I had challenged Lu Yu instead of the guy in 7th place. Lu Yu stood up, dropping her snacks. "Challenge me? And then what? You know how it ends." She released her blood chi all at once. The air in the room grew heavy, forming a pressure vortex that made it hard to breathe. Guo Chao frowned. "Lu Yu, we have a mission. I'm not fighting you now. We'll settle it back at school." "No, I want you to know exactly why you're beneath me right now," she said, stepping toward him. Guo Chao didn't back down. It looked like a brawl was seconds away. I stood there, feeling awkward. What was wrong with these people? Suddenly, a cool voice drifted through the room. "Both of you calm down." It wasn't a physical coldness. It was a mental chill that instantly smoothed out the heat of the argument. I looked toward the window where a quiet girl sat there with dark, bluish-black hair. She looked pale, almost malnourished, and was cradling a book. I glanced at the cover, and it was a spirit beast manual. These weren't printed. They were crafted by soul masters using mental energy as ink. They were insanely expensive and required massive mental strength just to read. A normal person would get a migraine just looking at a single page. This girl was a soul master. They were rare. Maybe 1 in 100 people had the talent. Her trick was like my parrots, but instead of provoking rage, she projected calm. Guo Chao had mentioned his team had 2 rank 3 martial artists and a rank 2 soul master. That meant her mental strength was over 10 units. "Don't mind them," the girl said, smiling at me as the other 2 grumbled and turned away. They grew up together. They're actually very close. I nodded. I could see it. They were the classic bickering couple type. A pang of envy hit me. Growing up with a beautiful girl who's also a powerhouse. Only guys with talent and good looks got that kind of life. "I'm Lin Mei," she said. "Rank 2 soul master." They all turned to me. They knew I was a beast tamer, but they didn't know my level. Guo Chao had been so desperate for a tamer that he'd recruited me without asking for a resume. "Nice to meet you," I said, my voice muffled by the cloak. "I'm Chen Fan, rank 3 beast tamer." I made the name up on the spot, borrowing my friend Chun Wei's surname. If he ever found out, he'd never let me hear the end of it. The room went silent. All 3 of them looked shocked. "Rank 3, Guo Chao blurted out. He looked even more confused now. Based on his bone reading earlier, he knew I was younger than them. How could a kid from the sticks be a rank 3 beast tamer? "Are you from Manhwa City too? Or one of the other big capitals? Maybe the Star Moon Federation?" I didn't answer. I didn't want to give them anything they could use to track me down later. Tianqing Town was too small for secrets. Seeing my silence, they didn't push. Everyone had secrets in this business, but I could tell they were thrilled. Having a rank 3 beast tamer was a massive win for their squad. All right then, Guo Chao said, clapping his hands. We'll operate as a standard four-man formation. Sound good? The two girls nodded immediately. I stayed silent, hidden under my hood. My mind was racing. Asterisk standard four-man formation? What the hell is that? Guo Chao cleared his throat, feeling the need to explain the plan. Brother Chun, I'll be leading the charge. I'll stay about 100 meters ahead of you to take the brunt of the enemies. But because I'll be focused on the front, I might not be able to watch your back or Lin Mei's. He gestured to the other guy in the group. That's why Lu Yu will stay within 10 meters of you both for protection. Lin Mei is a rank 2 soul master. She can disrupt the enemy's minds from dozens of meters away. As for you, Brother Chun, I'll need your rank 3 beast to fight alongside me on the front line to maintain our striking power. I nodded. It made sense. Guo Chao was the scissors, cutting through the enemy, while Lu Yu was the shield, pivoting between offense and defense. Lu Yu smirked at Guo Chao. Why are you even explaining this? He's a rank 3 beast tamer. You think you know more about tactics than he does? I didn't know how to respond to that. It seemed like the moment I claimed to be rank 3, everyone assumed I was some legendary master. These three were clearly top-tier geniuses themselves, likely comparable to that guy Chao Shuanglong I'd met before. They were probably here in Tianqing town just for the experience. How do we split the loot? I asked. I needed to know the bottom line. Guo Chao laughed. Honestly, we don't care about the bounty money. We're just here to rack up hunter points to exchange for merit back at the academy. If you're okay with it, we take all the hunter points, and you keep all the loot and the mission rewards. Deal, I said immediately. I had no idea what hunter points were, but I needed cash and beast carcasses. Do you know how to extract beast blood? I added. They looked at me with confusion. Usually, only warriors cared about extracting blood. Beast tamers were more focused on controlling their pets. You need to go to a specialized facility, Lin Mei explained. They use a refining method to turn the carcass into essence blood. Most people just call it beast blood. I nodded, making a mental note. We piled into Guo Chao's luxury car, and he floored it. We tore through the streets, heading toward the outskirts of town. Tianqing town bordered a mountain range that used to be a famous tourist spot. Now it was a ghost town. The only sounds were the distant roar of monsters and the thunder of heavy artillery. My heart started thumping against my ribs. I realized then just how bad the disaster really was. Are my parents okay? The anxiety hit me like a physical weight. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. Chen Fan, are you okay? Lin Mei asked, noticing my sudden tension. I didn't answer. I couldn't wait any longer. I summoned my bald parrot right there. It was a rank 3 flying beast, and it was more than strong enough to carry me. It grabbed my shoulders and took off, soaring toward the battlefield. The three of them stood there, mouths agape. He really is rank 3, Guo Chao muttered, stunned. A rank 3 beast tamer that young. What are you staring at? Lu Yu snapped, snapping him out of it. Follow him. Guo Chao scrambled toward the car, but his mind was racing. The youngest rank 3 in Yuehua City is 20 years old, right? Yeah, that genius from the Beast Taming Academy, Lu Yu replied. Why? Based on his frame, Chun Fan is only 17 or 18, Guo Chao whispered. His bones are thin, even for a tamer. His talent isn't just top tier, it's unheard of. How did a monster like that end up in a place like Tianqing town? Down at the defensive line, things were falling apart. This was the 13th wave of the day. Over 400 beasts were charging the perimeter. The town guards were buckling under the pressure. My father, Old Jiang, was at the very front with the other rank 1 warriors. He had no choice. If the warriors didn't hold the line, the non-combatant volunteers behind them would be slaughtered. My dad's arm was a mess of blood. His steel blade was chipped and dull. He was swinging it on pure instinct now, his eyes so bloodshot he could barely see. Old Jiang, fall back, his friend Old Jiang screamed, hacking down a beast nearby. You're losing consciousness. Fall back now. If my dad fainted here, he was a dead man. Old Jiang was terrified. If Old Jiang died, how could he ever look my mother or me in the eye? But my father didn't hear him. He was locked onto a particularly nasty rank 1 beast. He'd tried to kill it a dozen times, and each time, he'd barely survived. He fought like killing this one monster would end the whole war. But it wouldn't. This beast was nothing. The real threats were the dozens of rank 2 and rank 3 monsters further back. There was even a rank 4 beast in the distance, locked in a world-shaking battle with Yi Qinghua's flame demon wolf. And then, the horizon turned black. Another wave. A tide of monsters was coming. It's over, old Zhang whispered, despair washing over him. We're all going to die. Kill, my father roared, charging forward with zero regard for his own life. He had spent days hovering between life and death. He was numb to it now. He knew he couldn't give me a wealthy future, but he could at least make sure I lived to see tomorrow. He wanted to be a hero for his son. The beast lunged, its razor-sharp claws aimed straight for my father's head. No one was close enough to help. My dad braced himself, ready to take the monster down with him. Beast, back off. A piercing screech tore through the air. My bald parrot dived from the sky, its rank 3 aura slamming into the rank 1 monster. The beast's weak mind shattered instantly. It forgot all about my father and turned its aggression toward the parrot. It didn't stand a chance. In a blur of feathers and claws, the parrot tore the monster in half. I landed and caught my father just as his legs gave out. I was shaking. Seeing him like this, covered in filth and blood, made my eyes sting. This was his job. This was how he earned the 10,000 credits he'd given me for my exams. He put his life on the line every single day. My father's vision was blurry. He couldn't see my face under the hood. He just saw a powerful beast tamer standing over him. Thank you, he gasped, his voice raspy. Thank you, great tamer, for saving my life. I opened my mouth to speak. I wanted to tell him. I wanted to say, Dad, it's me. It's your son. I swallowed the words. I couldn't tell him. Saving him was my duty as a son, but the secret of my identity had to stay buried for now. Suddenly, a ground-shaking roar tore through the air from behind us. I spun around. Another army of beasts was charging toward the town. This group was just as large as the one we were already fighting. Panic rippled through the defenders. The intelligence reports had been clear. This second wave was supposed to be heading for the neighboring town of Li. Why had they turned back? Is this the work of the evil sect? Commander Wang roared, his face twisting in fury. He had heard rumors that the recent beast riots in Tianqing town were being orchestrated by them. Seeing this tactical maneuver, a perfect pincer attack, it was obvious. These monsters weren't acting on instinct. Someone was pulling the strings. Yi Qinghua's brow furrowed. The pieces were falling into place. First, a fake evolutionist had tried to scam her, nearly causing her flame demon wolf to regress to rank 2. Now, a coordinated siege. Commander Wang, what is Tianqing town really hiding? Yi Qinghua asked sharply. This isn't just a random raid. Wang stiffened. He didn't answer immediately, but his shifting eyes gave him away. There was something here. Something valuable enough for the evil sect to risk everything. If you don't tell me, Yi Qinghua threatened, her voice cold. I have no reason to stay and die for this town. Wang's eyes widened. If she left, the rank 4 monster leading the pack would slaughter everyone. He leaned in, his voice a frantic whisper. To be honest, there is a dragon-type soul egg hidden in town. I felt a jolt of shock. A dragon type? Even I knew what that meant. Dragons were the undisputed kings of the spirit beast world. Anyone who could contract one became a dragon tamer, a rank of prestige above all others. Yi Qinghua let out a mocking laugh. She was risking her life just to guard someone else's treasure. Wang quickly explained that they weren't trying to keep it. They just hadn't had time to transport it to Yuehua City yet. Fine, Yi Qinghua sighed. I'm annoyed, but I won't let the evil sect get their hands on a dragon. She turned her gaze toward me. Hey, brother, where are you from? I didn't answer. I was too busy looking at her flame demon wolf. It stood over 10 meters tall, wreathed in such intense heat that neither man nor beast dared to get close. My system interface flickered to life, showing its stats. Its power was staggering, far beyond any human warrior. Yi Qinghua followed my gaze, then looked at my bald parrot. Her expression turned weird. That parrot, it's really ugly. I felt a sting of annoyance. Most tamers evolve their beasts to look majestic or terrifying. Her wolf looked like a god of war. My bird looked like a plucked chicken. Focus, I said, my voice muffled by my hood. Go deal with the fire-poison wolf spider. Yi Qinghua blinked. I was just a rank 3 tamer, yet I was giving her orders? She didn't get angry, though. She just looked frustrated. I want to, she said, pointing toward a massive, hairy black spider several meters high. But that thing is a nightmare. The wolf spider was the leader of this disaster. Its silk and flames were laced with a lethal toxin that could melt a man into a puddle of sludge in seconds. It kept trying to drag the fight into the crowds of people, knowing the flame demon wolf couldn't use its full power without killing the villagers. Can you lure it away from the crowd? She asked. I'll try, I replied. I looked at my bald parrot. It understood immediately. It circled the air, shredding a few lower-ranked beasts to warm up, then puffed out its chest and screamed at the giant spider. Sit down, you overgrown bug. Get over here and die. I'm going to farm you like a mob. The battlefield went silent. Everyone stared at the foul-mouthed, bald bird screaming gamer slang at a rank 4 disaster. The wolf spider didn't even flinch. It just glanced at the parrot with cold, indifferent eyes. My parrot's taunt worked 100% of the time on anything with low mental power. But this spider was rank 4. Its mind was too strong. Talk like a bird, you idiot. I hissed, my face burning with embarrassment. It can't understand your trash talk. The parrot seemed to realize its mistake. It paused, thought for a second, and then let out a series of rhythmic, high-pitched squawks. The silence grew even heavier. It was literally translating the insults into bird language. Yi Qinghua's face went pale. Was this guy a joker? Did he really think a few chirps would provoke a rank 4 beast? But my father, still lying on the ground, was looking at the parrot with a strange expression. He looked at the bird's bald head, then at the feathers, then back at me. A look of realization began to dawn on his face. He probably thought he'd just found a wild spirit beast that looked like the one he'd seen before. He looked at my cloaked figure again. I was powerful, mysterious, and deadly. But something about my height and my voice, it felt hauntingly familiar to him. Everything was too similar. The timing, the style, the sheer absurdity of it. It was like a carbon copy of my own behavior. But my father shook his head, trying to clear the thought. It was impossible. Absolutely impossible. No one knew his son better than he did. To him, I was just an ordinary high school student who barely had a shot at the big exams. While everyone else thought I was just messing around, the wolf spider suddenly moved. It dug its 8 thick legs into the dirt and lunged. It didn't go for the crowd. It went straight for my bald parrot. The parrot reacted instantly. It flapped its wings, screeching as it led the beast away from the group. The wolf spider followed, obsessed. Yi Qinghua watched in shock. She couldn't understand it. A rank 4 beast shouldn't have such fragile mental stability. Then it hit her. A mental skill. That bald bird had used a psychological taunt so powerful it stripped the spider of its predatory logic. It was a terrifying ability. Most high-rank spirit beasts didn't even possess that kind of mental influence. If it could bait a wolf spider, it could bait her flame demon wolf. I let out a small, hidden smile. The spider was rank 4, sure, but its mental power hadn't reached the level of 10 horses yet. My parrot's aggro skill worked like a charm. The bird was fast, but the spider was a blur of shadow and venom. They tore across the battlefield, heading straight toward Guo Chao and his 2 teammates who were just arriving. Guo Chao's eyes nearly popped out of his head. He didn't have time to process why a rank 4 disaster was charging him, led by a screaming bald bird. Defend, he roared. As the captain, his instincts kicked in. Guo Chao drew his broadsword. He poured his inner energy into the blade and swung with everything he had. The metal clanged against the spider's leg like it had hit a mountain of steel. The vibration nearly shattered his wrists. His sword, custom forged from refined steel, hadn't even left a scratch. All he did was shave off a few leg hairs. The wolf spider stopped. It wasn't hurt, but it was insulted. These tiny humans dare to touch it? It let out a hiss and lunged with a leg like a spear, aiming straight for Guo Chao's chest. Guo Chao froze. The sheer pressure of a rank 4 beast pinned him to the spot. He was dead. He knew it. Move, a voice barked. Lu Yu leaped forward, his war spear whistling through the air. The tip of the spear collided with the spider's leg, deflecting it for a split second. It was just enough time. Guo Chao rolled away as the spider's leg stabbed into the earth, leaving a hole a foot deep. "Watch out," Lin Mei warned. Her eyes had turned a deep, oceanic blue. She stared at the spider, using her own mental ability to soothe its rage. The beast paused, its focus shifting away from the two men. But then the parrot screeched again from a distance, mocking it. The spider's anger flared back up instantly. It ignored the humans and chased after the bird again. Lin Mei gasped, her mental connection severed. "That bird, it's using a high-level taunt." Guo Chao scrambled to his feet, panting. "Chen Fan, that guy is a monster. His beast looks like a joke, but its abilities are legendary." Lu Yu glanced at him, surprised. "Since when do you admire anyone? I thought you were the top-tier genius of this town." "You don't get it," Guo Chao snapped. "He's younger than both of us. A rank 3 beast tamer at that age? It's unheard of." A thunderous roar cut their conversation short. The flame demon wolf leaped over their heads, a streak of fire and fur. Yi Qinghua sat atop its back, her eyes cold. She looked down at the three of them briefly. "Go to the main battlefield," she commanded. Guo Chao and the others stood frozen. Yi Qinghua? She was here? And since when was she rank 4? The world was moving too fast for them. "Wait," Guo Chao said, looking at the distance where the parrot had disappeared. "If Chun Fan's beast is gone, he's defenseless. He can't help us anymore." He turned back toward where I was standing, and his jaw dropped again. I wasn't alone. Standing beside my cloaked figure were two more beasts, a bald husky and a bald blue cat. The cat was currently positioned right next to a specific soldier, acting as a personal bodyguard. Three rank 3 beasts. Guo Chao stammered. "How is that possible?" He started questioning his own ability to judge age. Maybe I wasn't a teenager. Maybe I was an old monster in a young man's body. The three of them shared a look of pure terror. They hadn't just recruited a teammate, they had brought in a one-man army. With Yi Qinghua chasing the spider, I became the strongest force on the field. I commanded the bald husky to tear through the beast tide like a whirlwind. Meanwhile, my father was having a very strange day. The other soldiers were looking at him with envy and confusion. The bald blue cat followed him everywhere. If he stepped left, the cat stepped left. If he moved back, the cat followed. "Old Jiang," a fellow soldier whispered, nudging him. "You know this guy?" My father shook his head vigorously. "No. How could I? A beast tamer is a high-level official. I'm just a grunt." "Then why is his cat guarding you like a diamond?" Maybe he's just protecting the whole unit," my father suggested, though he didn't sound convinced. "Protecting the unit? Look at us. If you move, we all have to move just to stay in the cat's shadow." The cat was ugly, sure, but it was a killing machine. Any beast that got within 10 feet of my father was swiped into oblivion with a single claw. My father looked at my cloaked figure in the distance. A flicker of doubt crossed his mind, but he suppressed it. There was no way. Captain Wang, the leader of the garrison, watched me with narrow eyes. He'd seen plenty of beast tamers, but I was different. My mental energy was off the charts. To control 3 rank 3 beasts simultaneously with such precision was a feat even Yi Qinghua couldn't match. She had to focus entirely on her wolf, or the mental drain would be too much. But I was standing there, calm, directing 3 different battles at once. Each beast moved with perfect intent. "Who exactly is this person?" Wang muttered, a shadow of suspicion crossing his face. As the battle raged, I didn't forget the most important thing, money. While the husky fought, I signaled Guo Chao to start gathering the loot from the fallen beasts. Guo Chao almost cried. "Can't we do this after the war?" I didn't answer. I just pointed at a pile of beast cores. He sighed, resigned to his new role. The top-tier genius of Tianqing Town had officially become my personal errand boy. Lu Yu didn't miss the chance to mock him. "Aren't you the captain? Since when did you become a delivery boy?" Guo Chao's face darkened, but he stood his ground. Ensuring our highest combat power can fight without distractions is a vital contribution. Highest combat power. Lu Yu had to nod at that. It was the truth. People envied beast tamers not just for the prestige, but because spirit beasts were simply stronger than humans. A rank 3 martial artist was no match for a rank 3 spirit beast. A rank 3 beast tamer could crush almost any martial artist of the same level, and I had 3 of them. Even a late-stage rank 3 expert would have to kneel before me. With the combined efforts of my beasts and Captain Wang's men, the humans regained the upper hand. On the other side of the clearing, the flame demon wolf had caught up to the fire-poison spider. It wasn't just a fight, it was a beatdown. The wolf was an A-grade beast, naturally superior. Ja? Ja. Yi Qinghua kept glancing at my bald parrot. Even though it wasn't physically attacking, its constant, high-pitched insults were clearly rattling the fire-poison spider. The parrot's psychological warfare played a huge role in suppressing the enemy. Yi Qinghua looked almost envious. She wished she had a support beast like that. It wasn't the strongest, but it was incredibly useful. She wondered how that black-clothed beast tamer, me, had managed to evolve such a creature. Her mind drifted back to the young evolutionist she'd met earlier. She suspected he was a hidden genius from some transcendent sect, traveling the world in disguise. He clearly didn't care about money. Otherwise, he wouldn't have charged a mere 100,000 credits for a rank 3 evolution plan. She had spent over 10 million just on the materials. While she was lost in thought, the flame demon wolf finally tore the spider's throat out. Yi Qinghua tucked the spider's massive carcass into a spatial storage device. It was a rank 4 beast, valuable loot. If anyone saw her storage tool, they'd realize she was a walking fortune. Those things cost 1,000,000 credits per cubic meter. One big enough to hold a rank 4 beast was worth an astronomical sum. When she returned to the main battlefield, the chaos was ending. I was leading the soldiers in a systematic slaughter of the remaining beasts. Without their leader, the monsters were in a blind panic. Mine? That's mine too. All of it is mine. I shouted internally, though I kept my cool on the outside. Guo move faster. My eyes were practically glowing red. I was terrified he'd miss a single scrap. Guo looked like he was about to collapse. He had never worked this hard in his life. My bald husky was a blur, crushing everything in its path. Lu Yu and Lin Mei had no choice but to jump in and help Guo collect the loot. Yi Qinghua stared, stunned. These three were famous geniuses back in Yuehua City. Yet here they were, acting as my personal cleanup crew. When she saw my other 2 bald beasts, she froze. Controlling 3 rank 3 beasts at once required immense mental energy. She had to focus entirely on her 1 rank 4 wolf. While a rank 4 was stronger, managing 3 separate rank 3 entities was arguably more difficult. Captain Wang and his men finally brought down a rank 3 beast after a grueling struggle. Meanwhile, my husky was smart. It avoided the rank 3 threats and focused on wiping out the rank 1s and 2s at high speed. It was efficient. It was perfect. The garrison and the hunters broke the charge of hundreds of beasts. This was a massive victory for Tianqing Town. We won. Captain Wang gasped, exhaling a long breath. The monsters were retreating. The town was safe. Humans invincible. Humans invincible. The soldiers erupted in cheers. They had survived. I looked over at my father, who was moved to tears by the victory. I smiled, feeling a surge of pride. Nothing mattered more than protecting my family. But seeing him out there made me realize something. I had to get him to quit the garrison. It was too dangerous. He always talked about a man's duty to his country, but as his son, I just wanted him safe. I couldn't tell him everything yet, though. There was still the mystery of the Holy Clan cult. If they found out who I was, my parents would be in danger. I had to wipe out the Holy Clan members in Tianqing Town first. They were a ticking time bomb. I walked over to the exhausted Guo. What's the haul? 100 rank 1 beasts, 30 rank 2. No rank 3s, he panted, looking thrilled. He'd never seen this many carcasses at once. How much beast blood can we refine? I asked. About 10 to 20 milliliters per beast, he replied. That's it. I stared at him, shocked. These things were huge. How could they have so little essence blood? The volume of blood is high, but refining it into true essence blood yields very little, Guo explained. I did the math. 100 rank 1s would give me maybe 2 liters. At 100 credits per milliliter, that was maybe 200,000. 30 rank 2s might bring in another few 100,000. Total profit? Less than 500,000. Guo saw my disappointment and added, essence blood from low-level beasts isn't worth much. The market is flooded with it. To a normal family, this was a down payment on a house. To me, it wasn't enough. Guo likely came from a wealthy background, which is why he sounded so casual about it. Still, Guo said, The bounty and the hunter points for this many kills will be massive. Liu Yu glared at him. Did you kill them? Guo didn't care. We were a team. He didn't want the money or the loot. He just wanted the points. Help me process everything, I told him. I'll give you a 10% cut. No need for that, Guo said immediately. We had essentially picked up a fortune for free. I didn't say much else. Guo agreed to help me find a secure location to refine those beast carcasses into essence blood, and then the crowd began to disperse. Only a few sentries from the guard regiment remained. The rest retreated back toward the safety of Tianqing town. From a distance, I caught a glimpse of my father walking with Uncle Zhang, supporting each other. I clenched my fists under my black robe. I had to deal with the crisis inside Tianqing town as fast as possible. Once I reached a secluded spot, I stripped off the disguise and headed home. When I walked through the door and saw both my parents were back, I let out a genuine breath of relief. I put on a wide grin. You're finally back? I almost starved to death these past few days. Luckily, your son has a strong will to live. My mother shot me a glare. How old are you? Starving yourself to death? What would you do if we weren't around one day? Exactly, I said, still grinning. That's why I'm going to protect you. My mother froze for a second. A look of comfort washed over her face, and she nodded with a smile. She didn't ask about my results from the big 3 exams. She probably already guessed. Parents know their children's limits better than anyone, and she didn't want to rub salt in the wound. After everything that had happened lately, she truly felt that being an ordinary person wasn't so bad. It might be a struggle, but at least it was safe. Unlike my father, who risked his life every day. I looked over at my dad. He was staring at the empty birdcage on the balcony. My heart skipped a beat. Hey, Dad, that bald parrot of yours? It seems like it flew away on its own. I woke up and it was just gone. I was nervous. I knew he liked that bird, and I expected him to be heartbroken. My father looked at me, but didn't say a word. My mom brought out 2 steaming plates of food. Oh, let it go? I've wanted to stop raising that thing for ages. It was ugly, and it never said anything sensible. Not a proper parrot at all. I suppressed a smirk. If only she knew that the parrot's improper nature was exactly what gave it its special skills. Auntie, how much soy sauce should I pour? A young girl's voice called out from the kitchen. My mom quickly handed the hot plates to me and hurried back toward the stove. Just a bit. We just need it for the color. Don't put too much. I stood there stunned. That voice sounded incredibly familiar. My father looked at me, his eyes unreadable. Doesn't that burn? I asked, my voice cracking. Suddenly, I yelled in pain. I slammed the plates onto the table and started blowing on my fingers frantically. They were bright red. You're a grown man and still so clumsy, my mom grumbled from the kitchen. My father sighed. Watching me fumble around, the last of his suspicions vanished. It made sense. His son had been ordinary for 17 years. There was no way he was that powerful beast tamer in the black robe. He figured he was just getting old and indulging in unrealistic fantasies. Success usually leaves a trail, and as parents, they hadn't paved a golden path for their son. How could they expect him to become a legend overnight? I stared intensely at the kitchen door. Sure enough, Su Qingchen walked out carrying 2 plates, wearing an apron. It was one of my mom's old aprons, faded from years of washing, but on her, it looked like high fashion. She looked like a beautiful chef, the apron highlighting every curve of her figure. She gave me a cool, expressionless glance before turning to my mother with a warm, polite smile. But she wasn't alone. An elderly woman followed her out. My mom rushed to take the dish from her hands. Oh, I told you not to worry about helping. You even made a dish yourself. It's no trouble. My body is still strong enough for this, the old woman replied with a smile. She turned her gaze toward me. So, you're Lin Yuan? You know me? I asked, surprised. I often hear Qingchen talk about you. Ahem. Su Qingchen coughed loudly, a flash of red crossing her cheeks. The old woman, Nanny Zhang, realized she'd said too much and quickly tried to smooth it over. Your classmates, after all. She's mentioned you. I nodded and gave a light laugh. I bet she didn't have many nice things to say. Nanny Zhang looked awkward. It wasn't that she hadn't said nice things, it was the opposite. Su Qingchen had spoken so highly of me that she'd compared me to a dragon tamer. That was why Nanny Zhang had come here today under the guise of Su Qingchen's aunt. She wanted to see if I had cast some kind of spell on her young lady. My mom was looking at Su Qingchun with so much affection, she looked ready to call her daughter-in-law on the spot. I quickly changed the subject. The food looks great today. Did Dad get a bonus? My father chuckled. We repelled a few waves of beasts. They handed out quite a bit. Nanny Zhang nodded. Good. It's because of brave soldiers like you who disregard their own safety that ordinary people can live in peace. My father's smile faltered slightly. I felt a surge of annoyance. What was with that tone? Since the moment she spoke, this old woman had an air of superiority about her, like a high-ranking official commending a subordinate. Nanny Zhang didn't see anything wrong with it. Even Su Qingchen didn't seem to notice. They were used to this. The Su family was a titan in Yuecheng, filled with powerful figures in the military and government. Wherever they went, they were treated with the utmost respect. They were used to looking down, and my parents were used to looking up. Only I noticed. And right now, my impression of Su Qingchun and her aunt was hitting rock bottom. Su Qingchun looked at me, confused. Her mental strength was high, so she sensed my shifting emotions. She wondered how she had offended me. Was it because of our arranged marriage? Was I really that repulsed by her? She thought of the girl who had driven me home earlier. Was she really that much better? The table was set, but no one moved their chopsticks yet. My mom, being the host, encouraged everyone to eat. The old woman took a bite, and her eyes lit up. It's been a long time since I've had such authentic home cooking, she said. The ingredients are a bit low quality, but the flavor is excellent. My parents froze in embarrassment. They had gone to the market specifically to buy the freshest vegetables and meat to celebrate. They thought they had bought the best. How was it low quality? Under the table, Su Qingchen kicked Nanny Zhang. The old woman looked confused until she saw the coldness in Su Qingchen's eyes. She realized she'd slipped up again. I didn't mean it like that, Nanny Zhang tried to backtrack. It's just that we usually don't eat these things. We only eat premium-grade ingredients. My parents looked even more stunned. Su Qingchen knit her brows. She realized Nanny Zhang was doing this on purpose. She wanted my family to see the gap between us so we would give up and retreat. If you don't want to eat it, don't force yourself, I said coldly. Wouldn't want these low-quality things to poison you. Nanny Zhang gave me a sharp look. I was merely stating the truth. Then please leave. I slammed my bowl onto the table. Nanny Zhang snorted. How bold. A child like you dares to lose his temper with me. Just as she was about to explode, Su Qingchen suddenly stood up. She looked at Nanny Zhang with a freezing gaze. Go back. Miss, let's go together, Nanny Zhang said, thinking Su Qingchen had finally come to her senses. No, Su Qingchen replied firmly. You go? I actually like the food here. Su Qingchen brushed off Nanny Zhang's hand and took a large bite of the food. Miss, the master. Go back to Yuehua City, Su Qingchen interrupted. Don't come here again. She was kicking her out. It was cold and final. Nanny Zhang stood there, completely lost. She had watched Su Qingchen grow up. In the Su family, their bond was closer than most. Now, the young miss was cutting ties with her all for the sake of an outsider. She was convinced I had cast some kind of spell on her lady. My mom stood up, trying to break the heavy silence. So you're from Yuehua City? It's only natural you aren't used to our local food. Su Qingchen didn't say another word. Nanny Zhang sat down awkwardly. She wasn't leaving yet. She wanted to figure out why her lady was protecting me and exactly how far our relationship had gone. We ate in silence for a while. I didn't bother arguing with her anymore. Qingchun, I knew you went to Tianqing First High, my mom said, breaking the ice. But I never dared to ask. Did you and Jiang Fan know each other at school? No, I said. Yes, Su Qingchen said at the same time. I gave her a strange look. I was the one who said no. Why was she saying yes? We didn't, I asked. We walked to and from school together every day, she replied. Does that not count? She looked at me with a hint of, was that resentment? My parents stared at me, their eyes wide. I could practically see the gossip forming in my mom's head. She probably thought there were some deep, hidden secrets between us. I definitely knew who you were, I argued. You're the school belle. But you shouldn't have known me. We never even spoke. We did, Su Qingchen corrected me. One morning, she said, looking me in the eye. You were rushing down the stairs. You looked at me and said, hurry up, we're going to be late. I felt a bead of sweat roll down my neck. That counted as a conversation? Su Qingxin acted like it was the most obvious thing in the world. My mom's eyes were practically glowing now. She was already writing a campus romance novel in her head. She probably thought I had rejected a confession from this beautiful girl. Qingchun, Mom asked with a smile. How were your results on the 3 major exams? What are your plans for the future? Mom assumed she hadn't passed the Beast Tamer trials. In her mind, a girl who passed would be too arrogant to hang out with a guy like me. You're so pretty, Mom continued. I'm sure your grades are great, just like my Jiang fans. Mom, I groaned. Nanny Zhang couldn't stay quiet any longer. She puffed out her chest with pride. Our Qingchun is a top-tier beast tamer. She broke the historical record for talent in Tianqing town. My parents froze. The information was too much for them to process. To them, a beast tamer was a godlike figure. A record breaker? That was beyond their imagination. They looked at me, silently asking if it was true. I nodded. It was a fact. Su Qingxin was a monster of a talent. Of course, she was still nothing compared to their son. If they knew I had 3-tier, 3-spirit beasts after just a few days, they wouldn't be so impressed by her. But I kept my mouth shut. Until the Saint clan was dealt with, I couldn't drag my parents into my dangerous world. Mom's face went pale. A genius like that was a VIP in our town. She looked at the simple dishes on the table and panicked. Oh no, Mom said, standing up to clear the plates. We should have prepared something better. This is so disrespectful. My dad looked just as restless. Their attitude shifted instantly. As parents, they were already thinking about how this girl could help their son's future. One little push from her could change my entire life. Please, Auntie, don't, Su Qingxin said gently. We're just classmates. There's no need for formalities. Besides, Zhang Fan passed the exam too. He's one of the only 2 beast tamers in the entire school. My parents went rigid. What? Their reaction was even more explosive than when they heard about Su Qingxin. I leaned back, wearing a small, humble smile. Go ahead, I thought. Praise your amazing son. My dad suddenly stood up. His face was grim. Zhang Fan, tell me the truth. Did you cheat? My smile vanished. What? Even my mom chimed in. I heard students in some places use tricks to pass, but they get caught by the academy. They don't just go to jail, they're banned from exams for life. My face turned sour. Are you serious? You'd rather believe she's a record-breaking genius than believe your own son is talented. Su Qingchun let out a sudden, beautiful laugh. It was the kind of laugh that could stop a heart. Usually, she was so cold and distant that people were afraid to get close to her. Even Nanny Zhang looked dazed. It had been years since she'd seen the young miss laugh like that, not since her mother disappeared. Auntie, Su Qingxin said, still smiling. Zhang Fan passed fairly. The old loopholes were closed years ago. My parents' faces transformed into pure joy. Zhang Fan, you did it. The ancestors must be watching over us. They were ready to treat me like a king. I just pouted, looking as miserable as possible. Oh, now you're happy? You trusted a stranger over me. Am I even your son, or did you pick me up from a dumpster? Su Qingxin laughed again. What's so funny? I grumbled. Everything, she teased. I sat there in a cloud of gloom while my parents celebrated around me. Su Qingxin's laughter was like bells, light and magical. It even started to pull me out of my bad mood. Nanny Zhang watched us, her eyes getting a little misty. She realized that I hadn't cast a spell on her lady. I had done something much more powerful. I had opened a door to her heart that had been locked for years. But we weren't alone. High up in a nearby building, a pair of eyes watched us through the window. A girl with short, fiery red hair stared down at our house. It was Xiao Ran, and she looked furious. Xiao Ran watched us from the window, her face twisted with a rage I couldn't have imagined. She saw Su Qingxin, the ice queen of Yuehua City, laughing and chatting with a man. This was a girl who had rejected countless geniuses and heirs. Even Long Hao from the Dragon God Temple had been turned away, despite offering a literal dragon-type beast egg as a betrothal gift. Everyone thought Su Qingxin's standards were just impossibly high. Now, it looked like she just had unique taste. She was ignoring the world's elite for a plain, small-town kid. If the geniuses in the city found out they were losing to a trash like me, they'd find 10,000 ways to kill me. Xiao Ran stared at me like she wanted to burn a hole through my chest. To her, I was just Jiang Fan, a loser from Tianqing High with a single beast seal. In her eyes, I was a bug trying to fly with a swan. She didn't just want to humiliate Su Qingshan anymore. She wanted to crush me first. Inside, my mom was busy asking Su Qingshan for advice about my future. She wanted to know if I needed to apply for a beast taming academy now that I'd passed the exam. Su Qingshan nodded, then looked at me and shook her head slightly. She explained that there are two ways to get into an academy. First, the elite schools come to you. They scout the best talents and offer incredible perks. The second way is general distribution, where average students are randomly assigned to whatever school has an open slot. My parents looked confused, but I got it. The top-tier students get recruited. The leftovers get dumped wherever there's room. So where will Jiang Fan go? My mom asked, her voice hovering between hope and worry. Tianqing Town is under Yuehua City's jurisdiction, Su Qingshan said. The 3 local academies will come to recruit. With 1 beast seal, he'll likely be assigned to Yingqing Academy. It's a very old school. My parents lit up. They didn't care about the school's ranking. As long as I was going to a real academy, they were happy. Nanny Zhang couldn't help but chime in. Yingqing has history, sure. It was founded by a dragon tamer and produced legends in the past. But that's ancient history. Now, it's a third-rate school with hidden potential that nobody can actually use. Hidden potential? I asked. Nanny Zhang smiled. The founder was a dragon tamer. That's the peak of all taming paths. Because of that, the school has a collection of ancient dragon eggs. But they're all dead. Nobody has been able to wake them for centuries. If someone did, they'd become a dragon tamer instantly. But it's a pipe dream. My parents were way out of their depth, but my heart skipped a beat. Dead eggs? To others, they were rocks. To me, they were an opportunity. Our Lady Su has already been recruited by Yuehua Academy, Nanny Zhang added proudly. That's the #1 school in the city and famous throughout the Federation. My parents looked envious, but they were grounded. They knew I wasn't in the same league. My mom had already given up on the idea of me and Su Qingshan being a match. She realized Su Qingshan was a star in the sky, and I was just a boy on the ground. It's not that big of a deal, Su Qingshan said suddenly, her eyes fixed on me. Even at Yuehua Academy, they haven't produced many evolution grandmasters lately. Everyone looked at her, confused. Why bring up evolution grandmasters now? In Yuehua City, there was only one person with that title. I just stayed quiet. Was she trying to bait me? Being an evolution grandmaster didn't mean much to me. I had a system. The next day, I got a message from Guoqiao. The bounty results were in. We had cleared 30 level 2 beasts and 100 level 1 beasts. The total payout was 400,000 credits. Per our deal, the money was mine. But the real prize was the beast blood, 1,300 milliliters of level 1 blood and 350 milliliters of level 2. I had them leave it at the Hunter's Guild and picked it up myself. On the way back, I realized I had a problem. I needed to take a beast blood bath, but we didn't have a bathtub at home. Plus, the commotion would definitely tip off my parents. I decided to check into a decent hotel in town that had the right facilities. The blood looked like a large bottle of soda, so nobody noticed when I carried it in. The ratio for a bloodbath is usually 10-1. I diluted the level 1 blood, stripped down, and stepped in. The second my skin touched the water, it felt like thousands of needles were piercing every pore on my body. Within seconds, my skin turned a deep, angry red. My face flushed, and a wild, savage heat surged through me. It felt like my body was about to explode from the inside out. I quickly pulled the breathing technique from the beast skin scroll into my mind. I began to guide the stagnant power of the beast blood through my body. The technique allowed energy to flow through 9 specific acupoints. I realized this was a foundational martial artist technique. The more acupoints a technique covers, the higher its grade. 9 is the base. But even a base technique was more than what most high schoolers had. My friend Fatty Chun had spent a fortune and months of time just to reach a blood chi level of 0.5. With this technique, I was going to be much faster. My 9 acupoints began drinking in the energy like hungry ghosts. In less than an hour, the first soak was complete. I felt the energy from the beast blood drain into my body until the pool was clear. I checked my stats. My physical strength had visibly improved. but I wasn't at zero point 0.2 units of blood chi yet. I didn't hesitate. I diluted another batch of level 1 blood and stepped back in. This time, the absorption was much faster. I knew exactly where the 9 acupoints were and how the energy needed to flow. When the second soak finished, I was stronger, but still just under the mark. I pushed through a third soak, using up all 1,300 milliliters of the level 1 blood. That was 130,000 credits worth of resources gone in a single afternoon. Finally, I felt the breakthrough. My blood chi hit 0 0.2 units. Progressing a mere 0 0.1 units was harder than I thought, even with a cultivation technique. No wonder Fatty Chun said his dad spent 2 million credits on him. The conversion rate was brutal. I looked at the level 2 beast blood. Higher level meant more energy, but it also meant more risk. If I couldn't handle the surge, my body would literally explode. I wasn't that stupid. The standard safety ratio for high schoolers was 20-1. I followed the rules, diluted the bath, took a deep breath, and submerged myself. I hissed through my teeth. The needle-like stings from before were gone, replaced by what felt like thick thumbtacks driving into my skin. It was enough to draw blood. I grit my teeth and pushed the breathing technique to its limit. I could almost hear the sound of my acupoints vacuuming up the energy. The water turned a murky, dark red. I couldn't tell if it was the beast blood or my own seeping out. This soak took over 2 hours. When I finally stepped out of the tub, I was covered in red. My pores were actually leaking blood, a side effect of my blood chi rising too fast. 0 0.5 units. I had reached it in a single day. The level 2 blood was the key. Its efficiency blew the level 1 stuff out of the water. I waited for the bleeding to stop and wiped my face, a grin spreading across my lips. I had burned through 200,000 credits in 24 hours, but I had caught up to Fatty Chun. That was the power of a real cultivation technique. If Fatty found out, he'd probably cry himself to death. While I was cleaning up, a man named Xiao Ran was standing outside my apartment building. He looked up at my windows with a sneer. To him, I was just some common trash. He couldn't understand why a girl like Su Qingcheng would even look at me. Not that it mattered to him. In his mind, I was already a dead man. When I finally walked home, I ran into Su Qingcheng, her grandmother, and a red-haired guy leaving the building. The guy gave me a look that felt like a blade. It was pure hostility. He's just a friend from Yuehua City, Su Qingcheng said, noticing my gaze. I didn't say anything. Why was she explaining this to me? She seemed to think I wanted more details. His name is Xiao Ran, from the Xiao family. He's in his late 20s. He's somewhat famous back home, but not top tier. I gave her a weird look. Again, why was she telling me his life story? Xiaoran looked just as confused as I was. Then it clicked. She was worried I'd misunderstand their relationship, so she was downplaying his importance. I just turned 20, Xiaoran blurted out, clearly offended. 20? That's pretty old, I remarked. To a high school senior, 20 sounded like an ancient veteran. Xiaoran looked like he wanted to vomit blood. In his circles, 20 was considered incredibly young. Su Qingqing actually nodded, agreeing with me. Xiaoran turned to the grandmother for support, but she just chuckled and called them both little children. We're just going out for a meal, Su Qingqing added. I nodded slowly. Okay, have a good time. Don't you have anything else to ask? She frowned, sounding almost annoyed. Eat well. Her frown deepened. You don't have to act like this, even if you don't like the arrangement. What arrangement? I asked, but she was already walking away. The grandmother, old lady Wang, didn't even look at me as she followed. Xiaoran lingered for a second. He leaned in, his voice a low hiss only I could hear. At least you have some self-awareness, you bottom feeder. But your fate is sealed. You're on the list. Even if I don't kill you, someone else will. He walked off, leaving me standing there with a face full of question marks. What was his problem? Did he want to kill me just because I lived next door to Su Qingqing? He was clearly obsessed with her, but he was taking it out on the wrong guy. He should go bother the kid in the apartment upstairs. I shook off the weird encounter. I had bigger things to worry about. Guo Chao had sent over the bounty money. Combined with my savings, I finally had 1 million credits. 1 million was the price for a level 4 evolution. I had seen what Yi Qinghua's flame demon wolf could do. A level 4 beast was a game changer. It was the only way I'd survive if I ran into more holy race freaks like Chao Shuanglong. I got inside. My parents were out, probably on another mission. It was time. I looked at my three options: the bald parrot, the bald husky, and the bald blue cat. In terms of raw combat potential, the cat was the winner. It was balanced, fast, and fierce. System, I whispered. Evolve the bald blue cat. A blinding light erupted from the cat's body. Asterisk evolution in progress. Estimated time, 1 hour. Asterisk. It was a long wait, but that made sense. Moving from level 3 to level 4 was the jump from low tier to mid tier. It was a total transformation. To pass the time, I pulled out the beast skin scroll and started practicing the punching technique. It was a rhythmic flow of jabs and power shots, focusing on speed, footwork, and devastating combinations. I moved in the quiet apartment, waiting for my new power to wake up. With only 0.5 units of blood vitality, I started practicing. I threw a punch, then another. Asterisk thud. Thud. Asterisk I could actually hear the air popping as my fist cut through it. I hadn't been in a real fight yet, but I estimated my striking power was around 100 pounds. My dad was a self-taught martial artist who always bragged about his 300-pound punch. Hitting 100 didn't seem too bad for a beginner. I wondered what he'd think when he realized I was breathing down his neck. I kept going until I was drenched in sweat. I had the basics down now, chaining 3 or 4 hits together. 3 quick jabs, then a heavy finisher. If that didn't take an opponent down, I was probably in over my head anyway. Suddenly, a notification echoed in my mind. Asterisk ding. Bald blue cat evolution successful. 1 million credits consumed. Asterisk. I checked the stats immediately. It was now a level 4 beast. Its talent had jumped to B grade, and its combat power sat at 3,876. It was still weaker than Yi Qinghua's Flame Demon Wolf, but it was miles ahead of its previous form. Most importantly, the million credits had fully activated its special bloodline, the Dark Knight Demon Cat. Its claws were now infused with a subtle toxin. The cat began to grow right in front of my eyes. I quickly recalled it into the beast's space before it got too big for the room. My throat felt dry. I was itching for a chance to test this new power. A level 4 beast could typically take down an average level 4 martial artist. I started thinking about the Holy Race freaks. I was clearly on their hit list. But why? Was it because I was one of the 7 students who awakened a beast seal this year? That red-haired guy, Xiao Ran, mentioned a list too. My eyes narrowed. If Xiao Ran was with the Holy Race, what about Su Qingqing? The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. She was beautiful, incredibly talented, and her aunt had accidentally called her Miss once. That implied she came from a powerful family. So why move from a top-tier city like Yuehua to a dump like Tianqing Town? Why live in a rundown apartment when she clearly had money? And that childhood engagement with the kid upstairs? No way. They were from 2 different worlds. The only logical conclusion was that she was part of the Holy Race. Maybe even a saintess. A cold shiver ran down my spine. I was living right across the hall from a high-level threat. I felt pretty smug for figuring it out, but the reality was terrifying. Meanwhile, at a high-end restaurant, Su Qingqing frowned as if her nose was itchy. Across from her, Xiao Ran smiled. He asked if she was headed to the Yuehua Academy, mentioning a certain admirer waiting for her there. She didn't answer. Tianqing Town did well this year. Xiao Ran continued, acting casual. 6 new beast tamers, plus you. Even your neighbor is one. It's a small world. Su Qingqing looked up. How do you know about my neighbor? Xiao Ran didn't blink. He claimed he'd done his research to scout talent for his family. He mentioned how easy it was to recruit geniuses from small towns. Her nanny, old lady Zhang, nodded in agreement, though she looked worried. Last year, 3 students from this town were murdered by the evil sect on their way out. The Holy Race probably has their eyes on Su Qingqing too, Xiao Ran sighed. Old lady Zhang snorted. Let them come. As long as I'm alive, the miss is safe. She was a level 4 martial artist, a formidable bodyguard. Xiao Ran hid a dark, knowing smile behind his water glass. The Holy Race had already started their move. Tianqing Town was about to descend into chaos. Unaware of the conversation, I was back at the hotel for my second day of cultivation. I diluted the level 2 beast blood into my bathwater. My blood vitality rose to 0.8 units. A healthy adult is usually at 0.1, meaning I now had the strength of 8 grown men. I was almost at my dad's level. I washed the grime and blood off my skin and relaxed in the tub. I pulled out my phone to scroll through the news. Suddenly, I sat bolt upright. My eyes locked onto a headline about a massive criminal case. Things were moving much faster than I expected.